It's time for high school sports on the NCWLIFE channel. Today's broadcast of high school sports on the NCWLIFE channel is presented by Alignment Pros, Automoca, Color FX, Global Car Care, One Way Construction, Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, Biosports Physical Therapy, and the Windmill Restaurant. Now let's go live for all the action for tonight's coverage of high school sports on your home for local sports, the NCWLIFE channel.
Welcome, bowling fans, here to Eastmont Lanes. Along with Jeremy Enders, I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCWLIFE channel. As we bring you bowling today, a Big Nine matchup, second of the season between the Eastmont Wildcats and the Wenatchee Panthers. And Jeremy, welcome to the broadcast. Good to have you back here at the Lanes.
Yeah, glad to be back here. Going to be a great matchup between these two schools today. Looking for some great bowling.
Well, Wenatchee nip and tuck right now with Eisenhower for first place in the Big Nine. Eastmont back a little bit. And, well, they've got some younger bowlers this year. Talk about what you're seeing out of Eastmont so far this year.
Looks like quite a bit of mix between young and older bowlers. They lost quite a few seniors last year off that state championship team. This year, starting day, 4 seniors on the match. And then Wenatchee only has 2 seniors, so it's kind of an interesting there between the younger and the older crowd.
Well, speaking of one of the Wenatchee Panther bowlers, we're here today. You see the ribbons on our shirts. You're going to see this throughout. Both the teams, as a matter of fact, will be wearing the ribbons in support of Hannah Johnson, who we've learned over the holiday break has been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on that today, but that's the reason for the ribbons. Everybody, of course, in support of Hannah and her cause for thyroid cancer. We wish her, of course, the very best. Yeah,
it's a tough break. The bowling community is very tight. These guys, they practice together, they bowl together. A lot of them bowling together for 7, 8, 9 years. So great to see both teams come together and support in one unison.
And thankfully, it's right here in the Northwest where we have one of the best children cancer hospitals in the world in Seattle with Children's Hospital. And the great news is that the thyroid cancer, about 99% survivability of that. So we're wishing the best for Hannah. We're going to talk to the coaches about this matchup because, hey, we're going to focus on bowling here today. It's Eastmont and Wenatchee coming your way from Eastmont Lanes next on the NCWLIFE channel.
Choose the pros, Alignment Pros. When your vehicle needs brakes, shocks, struts, or alignment, choose the experts in their field. Alignment Pros and Express Lube with a 5-star rating. The work they perform on your vehicle is as impeccable as their shop. With state-of-the-art equipment, Alignment Pros can handle all large or small vehicles, specialty cars, lifted or lowered. Alignment Pros does them all. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
What's your Automoca emergency?
It's a Frappuccino mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely the espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull.
Welcome back here on the pregame show on the NCWLIFE channel. Now talking with the head coaches for Eastmont and Wenatchee, Jeff Levitt and Christy Bingy. And our coaches interview brought to you by TC Slingers. If it's rock, bark, sand, or soil, no need for wheelbarrows, rakes, or shovels. They'll place the material for you. Well, we're in the new year, and I know a new year, hoping for better things for Eastmont. You guys have done well. It's just, it's still coming along, isn't it?
Right, we are. We're still a work in process.
So let's talk about what you need here today. I mean, you've seen these guys every day in practice. You know what they bring. What do you guys need to do today?
We need to stay mentally tough. I think they have the physicality to be able to win games. They just need the mental toughness.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff Levitt, you guys are sitting in a position right now where you want to be. Right next to first with Eisenhower. Talk about the team and the holiday and how are they sitting?
Well, we're sitting pretty well. We had a bit of a scare against Davis. One of their 120 average bowlers dropped to 225 on us and made us realize that anything can happen. Yeah. You can't just phone it in, fax it in. It's a mental game, just like Christy was saying, and you have to be focused the entire time. So we've been talking about focus. We seem to be having this second game dip in our concentration, so we've tried to address that, and we'll talk about that more pre-game today. So we need to continue to stay focused, just like Eastmont needs to.
That's one of those things, like you said, with a 120 bowler that suddenly has a huge game. You just can't prepare for that, can you?
No, you can't. And actually, I'm not sure what her average was, but Ike did that to us. The second game we bowled them, they bowled a 917, and it was like, whoa, where did that come from? and the one girl, their fourth bowler, bowled a 247. So anything can happen.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's exciting for us to have the cameras here today, because you never know when that next person is going to step up. The holidays for you, did the girls have time off? Did they have to practice? What was your schedule?
Well, both. We had some time off, and we practiced as well. I had a few optional practices. We usually had about 7 or 8 girls there, and then we had a couple of required practices as well. We had one just the other day. I tried to practice yesterday, but my AD said, you better not do that. So, okay, I guess I'll listen to you. But, we tried to give them some time off so they could recover, spend time with family, because that's really important to kind of get your mind away from things and what's really important. And family and friends are very important. So we want to make sure we had plenty of time for that.
Absolutely. Christy, how about you guys? Did you give them a little time off?
Yeah, we did. The week of Christmas, they did not bowl. And the week before, we did not mandatory practice. This particular week on Monday, Tuesday, we did have mandatory practice. Okay. But you could tell that they were rested, they looked better, they were exhausted before Christmas. Yeah. So it was good to have some time off.
That was quite a grind. Well, everybody's fresh, and we're ready for bowling here today at Eastmont Lanes. It's Wenatchee, it's Eastmont, coming up next on the NCWLIFE channel.
Hello, and what is up? Welcome to Career Shift Business Edition. I've got 3 choices: certificate, associates, and bachelor's. I'm going associates. And I'm enrolled. Stay alert, this game moves pretty fast. Whoa, exams almost did me in. I'm back on track and picking up speed. And I'm in the home stretch. Degree complete, and I'm ready to go to work. Charter helped me make that career shift. Your turn.
Welcome back once again here to Eastmont Lanes as we get ready for the match here between the Eastmont Wildcats, who are the home team officially, and the Wenatchee Panthers, the visitors. Wenatchee tied with Eisenhower, well, virtually tied with Eisenhower coming in. Jeremy Anders at 7-1, Ike coming in at 8-1. Talk about that real quick as far as lining it for the postseason and getting beyond districts and then hosting districts and things like that.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is when you win the league, you get to host the district tournament at your house, and Bowling Alley is definitely an advantage by being at your home house. Both Eastmont and Wenatchee bowl here at Eastmont Lanes, and with that, that's a huge advantage to be here with that. Now Eisenhower, they bowl at Nob Hill Lanes. A little tougher conditions for both Eastmont and Wenatchee over the years during their bowling time.
The ladies lining up here in front of us, and you see the all holding hands here.
We stand united as students, as athletes, as parents, as coaches, as friends, as families, as a community. We are united in our support for each other through trials and tribulations.
Not a specific reference there, but the reference obvious enough in support of Hannah Johnson. And, I know I talked a little bit with her mom, Debbie, through the internet, and the wish of Hannah and the families, this is all about bowling. We're not going to talk about being sick. We're not going to talk about any of that. It's all about bowling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and bowling really is sometimes something for an outlook for the family, and it's a tough run, but these guys want to be here to support. They're here to bowl, and knowing Hannah, knowing her competition and what she loves to do, she's going to forget all about that today. She's going to go out there and bowl her best she can.
Absolutely. And we are, let's get the lineups here as they announce them here at Eastmont Lanes. First for the visitors, for head coach Jeff Levitt, it'll be sophomore Kyla Hankins, who comes in with a 192 average in league play. She'll be the leadoff bowler, the sophomore. She'll be followed by senior Emily Groth, who has a 161 average on the season. Then it will be Jaden Thompson, the junior, with a 157 average. Hannah Johnson will get the start here as the fourth bowler, the sophomore with a 164 average. And then the anchor bowler here for Coach Jeff Levitt and the Wenatchee Panthers, senior Jessica Holbrook, with a nice average on the season at 189. Meanwhile, for the Eastmont Wildcats, as announced by their head coach, Christy Bingy, with a record of 5-3 coming in. They're going to start with a freshman. You mentioned that in the opening, Jeremy, a freshman and then 4 seniors. Colby Hull will be the leadoff bowler here for Eastmont. And talk about that, having a freshman go out there in this big match to be your leadoff bowler.
Christy definitely has to feel some confidence there. I mean, that is a big match here to go against these guys. And the leadoff spot is really important. Some people feel like the anchor is the toughest position. I think that actually leadoff is one of the positions you really need because it all starts there when you start your frame off there. So I'm definitely sure that Colby's going to feel the pressure. But she's really, from watching her beginning of the year till now, she's developed quite a bit. The average doesn't reflect her scores of lately. Her scores of lately actually been a lot higher than that. So it'll be interesting to see how she does today.
Second bowler for Eastmont here this afternoon will be Caitlin Craig. She has a 140 average. She's a senior, followed by Sky Wilson, a 159 average as a senior. Also, senior Samantha Heinz will be the number 4 bowler for Eastmont with a 162 average. And then the anchor, Alicia Hastings, the senior, the defending Big 9 bowler of the year with a 187 average. And I know Eastmont always turns to Alicia and says, okay, you got to carry the load here a little bit.
She's had to carry the load the last couple of years. Last year, she had a lot more help, though. They lost 3 big seniors. We talked about that before during their state title run. That was their back-to-back state title run. And coming up, Wenatchee had a good core of young girls coming up, and they've continued that this year. As you can tell, the starting lineup, 4 seniors for Eastmont and only 2 seniors for Wenatchee. Going to be an interesting match, definitely with experience, though. But sometimes that experience may help them pay off for Eastmont because they've been in this situation before. These Wenatchee-Eastmont matches, trust me, they are a little bit more intense than any other match you're going to have all year long, even the district tournament.
And Jeremy would know, being the former head coach here at Eastmont High School for the Lady Wildcats. Our broadcast today brought to you by the Alignment Pros and Express Lube. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube, including front and 4-wheel alignment online at alignpros.com or at 182 Eastmont Avenue. Also by Automoka. What's your Automoka emergency? Visit one of their 6 locations in the valley, including the only Automoka with inside seating on 5th Street across from the college. Also by Color Effects, offering screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, and logo design for your team, school, business, or church at a fair price. Locally owned for over 20 years. Call Color Effects at 509-741-7609. And Global Car Care, a quality auto repair facility with highly trained technicians celebrating 25 years in the car care business. They speak your car's language at 1840 North Wenatchee Avenue. So, is it lanes? Is it what is the first thing going through everybody's minds right now as you get ready for the first game?
First game is really just emotions, to keep these emotions intact because these are a lot more bigger matches for the emotion-wise. It's to keep those emotions intact and keep focused on the game. And for these girls here, very good balls in practice there. Watched quite a few of them. A lot of strikes are being thrown. But there's a few girls who are struggling off of practice, a few girls that had quite a few bad balls. Definitely going to see how they adjust here going to the first game. And anything can happen, but you want to start off the game with a strike.
Well, these two bracketing the holidays. Last time they met was the day before Thanksgiving, and the first or second time they meet here the day after New Year's. And our first ball of the game by Wenatchee High School's Kyla Hankins, a 9. And speaking of which, a 9 by the freshman, Colby Hull, to start things off.
Kyla threw the ball a little too far out to the right side there. Didn't come back at the carry she wanted to. Actually got the domino effect, we call it here, leaving the head pin there. A little bit easier spare than on the right side for Colby, who left the 10 pin. One of the tougher single pin spares you're going to find out there for Colby.
And Colby not able to convert on that one, and that'll be, you know, the quandary for her being the freshman is how she responds to that first frame. I know she would like to have had the pickup there. Kyla Hankins does pick up her spare, as we are 1 bowler in here on the first frame of the first of 2 games, then a couple of Bakers here at Eastmont High School.
Interesting to note that Caitlin Craig, who's bowling for Eastmont, the only left-hander bowling between the 2 schools. And that's interesting because the lane conditions don't change as much. When you're a left-hander bowler, you don't have as much breakdown on the lanes, especially when you have 9 of the right-handers on the lane. So that'll be interesting for her this game.
First ball for Emily Groth is outside the pocket to Tad there. So she's got 5 left to pick up after her first roll here as we are underway here at Eastmont Lanes. I said Eastmont High School, but Eastmont Lanes the location. The third bowler up, Sky Wilson for the Eastmont Lady Cats. And she ended up getting 9 on that.
5 count for her, 5 pin for her, leaving it there, kind of Brooklyn side for her.
And a nice pickup there for Emily Groth. So Wenatchee covering so far in their first 2 bowlers. Next up will be Jaden Thompson, but first trying to pick up is Sky Wilson on the spare here.
Sky with a little bit better ball there on her second ball. Still pulling the ball a little bit. You're going to see that quite a bit from her, looked like there after practice balls.
Jaden Thompson gets a little break there, stays away from the split, but 1 pin left over. She a little bit, it seems Wenatchee outside the pocket on the right side there quite a bit in these first few balls. And a nice roll there for Samantha Hines, who picks up a strike for Eastmont.
Ball came in a little heavy there. You saw kind of the pin reaction there, come back and knock the 4 pin down, but definitely good to start with the strike. So far, pretty even match.
Now trying to pick up. Jaden Thompson started that way right and did not get the action she wanted to pick up that spare. So for the first time here in the first frame, Wenatchee has an open.
And what you saw there, and you're going to see this all day long, as we get later in the match, you're going to see the ball be able to break more to the left-hand side. But there's so much oil in the center here. These freshly oiled lanes are a little tougher to bowl on, a little tougher to get that ball to go clear across the lanes.
And a nice strike for Hannah Johnson out of the gate, coming in strong for Wenatchee.
And here's 2 heavyweights going against each other here. Jessica Holbrook and Alicia Hastings, 2 of the top averages in the Big 9. Both of them had big years last year. Both of them going in their senior year. You know this match is a little more intense than most of the other bowlers.
Absolutely. Jessica Holbrook, the captain for for Wenatchee, with her first ball. I noticed she took a line off of the others that were coming out a little wide. She narrowed it in a little bit towards the head pin and picks up a nice strike.
Both of them very consistent in their balls, very powerful when they throw strikes. And Alicia a little pulled there, ball a little inside from where she wanted. You see go to the left side, almost straight through the head pin there on that ball there.
Interestingly, Colby Hull doesn't even wait for her teammate to finish up on one lane. The freshman says, I just want to get out there and roll. And so she does. Meanwhile, Alicia Hastings on lane 8 will try to pick up this spare.
Talk to me a little about the emotions there. Just kind of want to get there. And tough break for Alicia Hastings there. We've talked about before, you get a lot of strikes in here, but really what it comes down to, and this is what I preached earlier on when I was a coach, is spares win matches. That's really what you want to have. It's about those spares, especially single pin spares. As a coach, as a bowler, you don't want to lose and miss those single pin spares.
So a pickup for Colby Hull. So she's covered in the first bowler of the second frame. Kyla Hankins, meanwhile, will pick up a strike for Wenatchee.
So interesting note, Kyla Hankins, the first ball last frame, she threw the ball too far outside. That time she pulled it, goes left-hand side, so she's still trying to find that mark there, as does Caitlin Craig there on her left side.
Came across her body a little bit much, so she has 7-3 to work with. And our broadcast today brought to you by One Way Construction, a premier custom home builder and construction company for North Central Washington, including general contracting, framing, concrete, and consultation services. Online at onewayconstructionnw.com. For the Wenatchee Panthers, Emily Groth, a little tough luck there. Back row split.
8-10 split, solid 8-10 too. Ball came but just a little bit light in the pocket, not all the way through. And these girls throw a little bit lighter balls, some of them, than compared to other bowlers, and sometimes you don't get the carry you want exactly when it goes to the pocket.
Caitlin is open there. Caitlin Craig for Eastmont in her attempt, and here just going to try to get a single pin, and doing so is Emily Groth.
Sky Wilson up now. We saw last time she pulled the ball just a hair there on that first ball, so she makes an adjustment here on ball number 2.
She didn't. She shook her head when she released it, but she gets a strike out of it.
She definitely thought the same thing when it came off her hand there. She wasn't thinking strike there, but she'll take what she can get.
Nice find to the pocket for Jaden Thompson, but leaves that 10 pin on the right side of your screen as we're watching it here on the NCWLIFE channel. Samantha Hines struck in her first frame, and 9 here.
New ball for Samantha Hines there, as you're seeing that. A couple of girls, Christmas time, some of them get new balls, and so getting adjusted to that and learning how to throw that ball might be a little bit tougher for her, but she looks like she's good so far.
Nice pickup there for Wenatchee's Jaden Thompson. Samantha Hines, meanwhile, trying to pick up her last pin. She's able to get it.
Interesting to note between both these teams, a lot of very similar styles. Kind of going off the second arrow basis, what we call it in bowling, is a lot of girls trying to throw off that second arrow or somewhere around that straight down in. There's a couple girls, though, you've seen like Jessica Holbrook kind of throw it out a little bit, but most of them trying to play that down and in line. It's really simple, really easy, and really consistent.
Alicia Hastings. Beautiful shot.
And a lot better ball that time for Alicia Hastings than her last ball. The last one, she really tried to force it down there. That one, she just rolled it down into the pocket.
Hannah Johnson tried to pick up hers. She does. 7 and a spare for Hannah Johnson. So she's clean through 2 frames here for the Wenatchee Panthers. Jessica Holbrook will wrap things up here. The final bowler in our second frame.
Holbrook coming off that strike. Would be love to keep 2 in a row here. The only bowler out there with a double if she can get it. And light, very light going into the pocket there. Leaves a 5 count. We call that the bucket there. So tough break for Jessica Holbrook.
So she starts towards that center arrow and then kind of comes out and then comes back in.
Kind of thrown between right across the third arrow, getting down to, you see the hash marks on the tail end down there, the 4 different hash marks. You kind of want your ball to break right about that second hash mark on the far right side. That's where you're looking for that ball to do its final break. And you'll see it kind of hit right there, and that's the breaking point. That's when the weight block shifts on the ball.
Perfect.
And that's things a lot of people don't know. They don't realize.
See, yeah, I didn't even realize you're looking, and what Jeremy's referring to here is you've got the little arrows that are here in the foreground, just beyond where the ball is released by each of the bowlers. And then about 2/3 of the way down the alley, there's 2 hash marks on the inside, and then a little bit further down, there's 2 hash marks on the outside. And that's what you're referring to as far as your second source of alignment. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, some bowlers will line themselves up off the arrows. Some will line them up off the hash marks. And really what you're kind of looking for is to kind of find your breaking point there. And for the bowlers, like you saw Kyla Hankins just now with that beautiful strike, her ball broke right there at that second hash mark. And sometimes if you're too far inside those hash marks, your ball's going to break way too late.
Emily 9 with her first ball. Meanwhile, getting 2 out of the 3 remaining of that split is Colby Hull. So she's open here in the third. Kyla Hankins with the strike to start things off here in the third frame for Wenatchee. As the Panthers right now leading this one 165 to 138. Of course, we've got a long way to go here in game 1.
Definitely going to be interesting throughout this match. If you see the coaches making any substitutions, one thing unique about bowling here is they can substitute at any time, pull a girl from JV and going up. And the thing about it is the JV bowlers are bowling the exact same time as the varsity, so they're kind of keeping fresh, staying right there. And so you're always looking down there as a coach and saying, you know, if I got a girl struggling, I'm looking down there seeing who's hot, who's ready to move up.
Well, we saw that here the last time these two met, and a strike there for Jaden Thompson. Again, not necessarily picture perfect, but it works. And a nice spare for Caitlin Craig.
Caitlin with the lefty, tossing it out there, getting the 4-pin. And that's the interesting thing about her balls. You're going to see some of these girls who are throwing different balls for their spares. They're going from a reactive ball to a plastic ball. Ball is not going to break or hook too much when they throw their spares.
Hannah Johnson found the pocket and finds a strike for Wenatchee.
So Wenatchee working on a very strong frame right now, clean all the way through.
Trying to go Brooklyn there that time with Sky Wilson. I don't know if she was trying to, but it ended up.
So far, she's kind of lined up that way. That's where she's shooting the ball at, and it's working out. Sometimes, you know, hey, you got to go with what's working for you. Another 5-pin, though. The good thing is a 5-pin's an easy spare, known as one of the easiest spares to get. That's why you kind of get a hard time if you're ever bowling with your friends or bowling leagues. If you leave the 5-pin and you don't pick it up. So
Sky working on the cover here, and she'll be clean through 3 frames for the Eastmont Wildcats. Jessica Holbrook ready to step up here for Wenatchee on lane 7 on the left side of your screen. Looked like maybe she released a little early there.
Yeah, it came off her hand a little bit differently. As you see Sam Hines going up and rolling in there. Very smooth ball.
Beautiful shot for Samantha Hines.
And you're going to notice in some of these bowlers, you can almost tell when it comes off their hand, as soon as it rolls by the arrows, you kind of know right away that that ball looks different. That ball looks exactly how it's supposed to look. And then you're going to see the other ones come off there. And that's really, when you're a bowler, that's why you see them shake their head so early, because they know it came off wrong or rolling wrong.
Trying to pick up the final 3 pins here. Jessica Holbrook to wrap up. Ooh, get that first pin, circle around it. So Jessica open for the first time here. Alicia Hastings, meanwhile, going Brooklyn. Now just a little bit heavy on that head pin there.
So pretty even match here so far. You know, nobody taking off too many strikes and nobody struggling too far. But the lane conditions so far, you're kind of seeing a very even kill. It's a very good pattern right now for a lot of these bowlers, and as long as they're hitting their marks. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room, though. Right now, you have about a 2-board wiggle room if you can kind of miss inside or outside and still hit your mark. Sometimes that wiggle room is either smaller or bigger, but for these bowlers right now, it's a pretty good lane conditions.
Well, of course, they're working on some marks in the third, but through 3 frames here, it is Wenatchee 222 to Eastmont's 208. As we head to the fourth, and Colby Hull starts things off, and she gets 8 pins on her first ball here in the fourth frame at Eastmont Lanes. Kyla Hankins up on our right lane here, and a strike for Kyla. That's 3 in a row for Kyla Hankins.
Kyla Hankins taking off early in this one, and she's got a good roll right now. She's throwing that ball right out to that second hash mark. We saw it come right back in there. She's got good carry, and that's something you saw some of the other girls struggling with the 10-pin, leaving it there. She's carrying that ball all the way through.
Emily Groth, meanwhile, for Wenatchee, 7 in her first ball. Up on the left lane, Caitlin Craig for the Eastmont Wildcats. Only left-handed bowler we have here. And she had some issues here on this lane last time around. Let's see if she corrects it here. Starts it out way wide. And probably a little overreaction there for her because things were carrying way to the right for her coming from that left side on lane 7.
Yeah, definitely, as you see, Emily Groth go there for the spare, picks it up. Caitlin definitely, one of the things about her, though, is definitely her balance. And you can watch it. When she throws a good ball, she has great balance and falls all the way through. Or when she's off a little bit, you'll notice her shoulder drops a little too much.
And a beautiful pickup there for Caitlin Craig to stay clean here in the fourth for the Eastmont Wildcats.
Jaden Thompson thrown way outside that time.
Going to get that pin to come over and help out. She'll have 1 pin remaining.
Don't know if that was a help out or not, though. It's a little easier sometimes when you're throwing cross lane, especially for the lane conditions right now. You almost want to have those 2 pins there as an extra cushion, but leaves just a 7-pin behind there.
You see a little bit of a wobble after the release there by Sky Wilson as she gets 8 pins on her first ball.
Once again, another thing there, balance. And you can see there she's pulling the ball. That time didn't pull as much. As we see that wiggle room there, having that second pin may have helped out a little bit there. It's sometimes tougher early on in a match to get everything on the left side compared to getting things on the right side.
Our scoring right now, as we mentioned, through the third frame, 222 to 208. Wenatchee with the early lead here in game 1. And Sky Wilson will try to pick up her spare.
Those 3-10 splits, we call them the baby splits, but they are some of the toughest ones to get because you kind of just get overconfident shooting them because you make them so often, but then sometimes you just overshoot them or can't get them right.
9 for Hannah Johnson in her first ball. Our broadcast today brought to you by The Windmill, a time-tested restaurant providing traditional steakhouse meals and a homely old-fashioned dining room open 7 days a week, 4:30 to 9. Call 509-665-9529.
Sam Hines with a, we call that a heavy strike there. Didn't really go. Brooklyn almost kind of went right through the head there. That time, though, you kind of saw the ball, though. She pointed the ball, and it broke way late on her.
Hannah Johnson will be open for the first time here, missing on her spare opportunity. Opening a little window here for Eastmont with 3 strikes out of 4 frames for Samantha Hines. Now Alicia Hastings working on a spare in the third here in the fourth.
And she pulls a little bit Brooklyn there, too. Once again, another heavy strike. So sometimes, you know, bowling's one of those things. It's about 50% mental, about 40% physical, and about 10% luck is the way we like to say it.
And a nice strike there for Jessica Holbrook to wrap things up for Wenatchee here in the fourth frame. And Wenatchee now with a 315 lead to 291 for Eastmont and counting. As the ladies will switch lanes here. Wenatchee over on lane 7. First up, Kyla Hankins.
Kyla's had that good ball the whole entire time. That time,
oh, look at that.
She came up a little heavy that time as well. The ball broke a little bit later for her and worked out pretty well for her. And Colby Hull right back at it. I feel like now these girls are starting to get into the rhythm, and this is really, really it takes you about 3 or 4 frames before you finally get into that rhythm that you want, especially after being off all that time. You can practice as much as you want to, but being away from competition for so long is tough. And the luck gods are with a lot of bowlers today, I can tell you that, because a lot of these balls are carrying a little heavier than they normally do.
Emily Groth with the strike there. Now going opposite side for the strike is Caitlin Craig. Well, as I like to say in golf, I'd rather be lucky than good. So,
I can tell you as a coach, these are some of the times the balls that you like to see. That's a great ball right there by Jaden Thompson. But those are some of the balls you knew that you were just maybe a hair away from having a split or having a single pin or a bad ball. So
Sky Wilson now trying to maintain the strike barrage, and just about.
She was keeping the same mentality, though, going with the heavy strike right in the head there, hoping the luck would carry on there.
Hannah Johnson trying to bounce back from an open in the fourth. Here in the fifth. Had a couple of pins trying to usher over there, but the six just would not fall, so she's got one more to go. And here is Sky Wilson picking up her spare, so Eastmont remains clean here in the fifth.
Good 10-pin shot there for Sky Wilson. And those single-pin spares, we've talked about them. There's been a couple of them missed already by both teams early on this one. But those are the ones when you lose a match by a few pins or 20 or 30 pins, you go back and you circle right there. Say, that's where we could have won that match out there.
Hannah Johnson picks up her spare.
Squeaks it out there just a little bit. You can tell she's a little nervous at the end.
Sevens for Samantha Hines. Fourth bowler for Eastmont. Again, the Wildcats currently third in the Big Nine coming into this one with a 5-3 record. Their 3 losses, one of which to Wenatchee. And Jessica Holbrook will have a little stack there to pick up when she's finishing up. Samantha Hines, meanwhile, trying to pick up her 3.
Interesting to note that both Wenatchee and Eastmont, the top 2 team averages in the league, and between these 2 teams, they placed the top 3 averages individually in the league between Kyla Hankins, Jessica Holbrook, and Alicia Hastings. 2 big powerhouse schools. Just happens that Eisenhower this year has stepped up and had a great year as well. So you have 3 schools this year, only 2 get to go to state. And any of these schools are definitely teams to contend for a state championship.
Alicia Hastings with a chance to close the gap a little bit here for Eastmont in this first game of the 2 games and 3 Bakers. And how about that? Nice strike there for Alicia Hastings. She's got 2 in a row now for the Eastmont Wildcats. And here through the 5th frame, our scoring is 403 for Wenatchee to 374 for Eastmont.
And as somebody who's watched both these teams for a while and coached one of the teams as well, 2 of the bowlers you don't want to get on a hot streak. One is Kyla Hankins because she's going to be really strong for Wenatchee, and the other one's Alicia Hastings because both those girls have been known in their history to get to the long streak of balls. Once they get in their rhythm, you can see right there, Kyla Hankins, that's 5 in a row for her. Alicia Hastings off to 2 in a row there. So going to be interesting now as this match starts to heat up there. And Colby Hull, the freshman, she's shown pretty good early on in the match.
Yeah, a couple of strikes in a row for Colby Hull. So back and forth we go. Heavy hitters. And the heavyweight battle continues here at Eastmont Lanes, going Brooklyn, and she'll take that, will Emily Groth. So a couple of strikes in a row for Emily.
And as watching the team dynamic, it looks like both teams are starting to loosen up a little bit. There was a little tense early on in the match, but they're both starting to loosen up, and that's really what you want. You want to have them loose and fresh in the match, and tough break there for Caitlin Craig, leaving a big split, but it's a doable split. It's one you can pick up for sure.
Finding the pocket for Wenatchee, but just not getting the luck there was Jaden Thompson, working off a strike in the 5th.
And that last ball there is one that you can kind of tell. It broke, but it broke a little late. So when it breaks a little late, it doesn't carry the full momentum carry all the way through the pocket. That's why sometimes when you're leaving 10 pins, as a coach, you have that bowler move either maybe 2 or 3 inches forward or 2 or 3 inches back to maybe get a little more carry on the ball going into the pocket.
Nice pickup by Jaden Thompson here. Meanwhile, Caitlin Craig will try to do what she can with the 1. She at least got the 1, and you talk about that too. Those splits, you got to try to at least get one of them.
Yeah, every pin matters. I mean, we've seen these matches, especially in bowling. You might have, like, we were talking about earlier today on Wake Up Wenatchee, was you go the whole entire match. You go 3 games and then 7 Bakers, and it comes down to 14 pins to decide who goes.
Right.
I mean, every pin
incredible.
Matters. So you want to get as many pins as you can because you lose 2 or 3 here, it all adds up.
Going to the Brooklyn side, Hannah Johnson there with 8 in her first ball here in the 6th. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson stepping up. 3rd roller for Eastmont, and good pin action, but leaving 1 behind.
That's probably Sky's best ball she's thrown so far today, though, but didn't get the break that she wanted to there. A lot of speed on the ball there, but you saw the ball's a little heavy there. That way didn't carry that 4-pin back.
One more ball for Hannah Johnson. Got it. Nice job by Hannah. Sky started right at it, able to hang on there. And a couple of pickups in a row for Sky Wilson now for Eastmont. Anchor bowler Jessica Holbrook ready to step up for Wenatchee. She's coming off of an open frame in the 5th. Trying to rectify that here in the 6th.
Throws that ball way inside
Beautiful.
and throw it out. And that's kind of her area where she really succeeds at, is when she keeps that ball right in the middle. Sometimes you throw it a little too far out there, it's going to get stuck out in that outside well. As you see Sam Hines there, a really good ball from Sam Hines, rolls right in there in the pocket. You could see that ball on Sam with her ball. You could see as soon as it rolls across the arrows, you kind of know exactly if you're going to be good or bad, and that one was good. You could tell right away.
You're talking about that just watching the bowler too. On their, when they release the ball, that follow through, that linger, that stillness, if you will, of the bowler, watching that because they know that's a good ball.
It's all about the big things you look for up there are shoulder position. You want to make sure the shoulder is up and not down. Head position. You don't want to drop your head too much. And the other thing is balance. If they have good balance in the lane, it's going to keep all the way through. If your balance is off at all, you're going to be able to tell right away either the ball you're going to pull it or you're going to throw it out too much. So balance is a very key thing to have because that'll carry all the way through the whole entire release.
Through 6 frames, score right now 501 by Wenatchee, 471 for Eastmont. So the Wildcats still hanging right there. Finally 5 in a row snapped by Kyla Hankins. As she has 1 pin, that dastardly 10 pin hanging out there. Colby Hull, meanwhile, 6 pins in her first ball here to start off the 7th frame.
Good ball for Kyla. A little bit of a break there, leaving the 10 pin. And then Colby just threw the ball out just a hair too far, about a board and a half too far for her to come back and break in.
Well, it's been a while since, Kyla's had to throw a second ball. It's been since the first frame, and she's open here. And meanwhile, 3 out of the 4 picked up by Colby Hull for Eastmont. So both bowlers open here to start this 7th frame for Wenatchee and Eastmont.
And still a very close match here. You know, Alicia Hastings has that big string down there at the bottom. But other than that, the rest of the match all the way through, a lot of even bowlers in the match. I mean, it's only separated by about 30 pins right now, heading with 4 frames to go.
Emily a little high on her first ball, so she's got 2 remaining. Meanwhile, opposite side, and 8 for Caitlin Craig.
And as close as those 2 pins are together, that is a tougher spare than it looks because there's a lot more gap than you think there is between those 2 pins. So this is a tough one for both girls on both sides for the split.
Nice job for Emily Groth to pick that one up. Let's see if Caitlin Craig can counter. Couldn't quite get it. So a couple of open frames in a row for Caitlin Craig. So Wenatchee opens a window for Eastmont, but Wildcats just can't take advantage right now here in the first game.
Tough break for both teams to start out the 7th frame, but where you really want them to start click is right about here. Jaden Thompson had a few solid 10 pitches left there. This time the ball breaks way early. Her speed was a little bit slower there, though.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can kind of tell if a girl's speed's off, the ball's going to break a lot faster.
Going Brooklyn this time, and look at that pin action there for Sky Wilson.
Interesting to watch ball speed. The new scores they have here at Eastmont Lanes. Amazing by what they've done here with redoing the scoring system here and new graphics. A lot funner when you come with the family and friends, and actually will tell you ball speed. So it's interesting as a bowler. That's a big thing, is to be able to keep track of your ball speed and your consistency there. And definitely Sky on the higher end of the ball speed there. Some of the other girls.
Getting a little assistance to kick out that 10 pin there, Samantha Hines. So she's left with 3 to pick up here as she rolls in the 7th. Pick up for Jaden Thompson. Nice job on that. 4 pins remaining. Here's Hannah. And a strike for Hannah Johnson.
Solid strike there for Hannah Johnson. Just kind of that down and in, let the ball break it, carry right through the pocket here. Sam going for the spare. Looks like a solid spare there for Samantha Hines. So the bottom of the lineup here, finishing out strong for both teams here in the 7th frame.
Jessica Holbrook, 5th bowler for Wenatchee, stepping up here in the 7th frame. Nice.
Good double there for Jessica Holbrook, but right here, this is a big frame for Alicia Hastings. So you can get another strike.
Ooh,
solid 10 pin.
She was tapping her hip like she was hoping for a little extra bounce there from some of the other pins. Just didn't quite get the carom to knock it over.
with Eastmont trailing just a little bit going in there to the 8th frame. They know that having that extra strike there would have definitely been a positive for them, especially after starting off with 2 opens in this frame.
So the score after 7 frames here in game 1, Wenatchee at 612, Eastmont at 573. And here's where you start to set up the finish.
Yeah, I was at a 9th frame pep talk right before the 9th frame, because that's really your setup frame. That is your frame that you want to set up going into the 10th frame here. But with how close this match is right now, Eastmont really needs a couple girls to kind of string some together here, some solid frames, because 39 pins, the difference between the two.
Colby Hull, little baby split there. She'll have some work to do. Kyla Hankins, meanwhile, stepping up on lane 8. Oh, my.
You saw that one. She threw it too far out.
Yep.
And ball speed, definitely a big thing there. 2 pins, though. Very important in this match. How close is it? You definitely want to try to get 2 pins. See the freshman, Colby, going there. She gets the 2 pins.
Nice job by Colby to get what she can. Here's Kyla Hankins for Wenatchee. We've seen this picked up before. And she
goes across. Oh, so close. That's technique, though. You kind of just, you don't want to hit that pin too hard. You just kind of want to tap it over, slide it over, and it gets picked up more than you think it does. Just a tough one to leave in general.
9 for Caitlin Craig in her first ball. She's still trying to find a rhythm here. Meanwhile, it's Emily Groth for Wenatchee. A little heavy, but she'll take the strike.
That's a couple for her today, straight through there. But you got to take what you can get, and sometimes you're playing with a tough line there, because that same ball could have left a split, but she'll take the strike there. And Caitlin Craig, single pin spares, they're starting to really pay off here. And with how close this match is, they're going to go back there on both sides and circle those single pin spares, because both teams have made very big mistakes on those so far.
Jaden Thompson waiting for that last second turn of the ball and not quite able to get the pocket where she wanted to. So she'll have a couple of pins to pick up. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson stepping up for Eastmont. Smooth release.
Interesting to note there, she was light that time. So that time she was a little bit, looks like maybe a little faster on her ball speed, but came up light there. Didn't have as much directional point on the ball. She likes to kind of sometimes point the ball in the pocket there. That's kind of her way of going. But that time didn't point it in as much there. The ball didn't carry all the way into the pocket there, leaving the 5 count. Good thing, though, it's a 5 count and a strike, not a spare, so it didn't hurt her too much as long as she gets the spare here.
Ooh, just missed that middle pin. So Sky is open for the first time since the 4th. Meanwhile, it's Hannah Johnson. Ooh, gorgeous strike for Hannah, 2 in a row for Hannah, who's been clean since the 4th, when she was her only open frame here in this first game for Hannah Johnson. Samantha Hines now for Eastmont on our left side of the screen, and ooh, almost split it, but the fortunes of the bowling gods shine upon her. She'll have 3 to pick up.
Ball was a little inside of her mark that time. You saw the ball break there a little late, came right through the nose.
Jessica Holbrook trying to follow Hannah Johnson's lead, remaining with 9. I was reading through, Bruce Bennett does a great job of following Wenatchee High School athletics and providing the statistical information regarding these teams when they met. Samantha Hines with a nice pickup there. Jeff Levitt, in his history as head coach at Eastmont, or at Wenatchee, is only 1 win against Eastmont, and that was earlier this season.
Yeah, it was, I mean, go back to when we started the Eastmont program 6 years ago. We started off, it was Jay Young coaching Wenatchee, myself coaching Eastmont. And Eastmont, our first year, we only had 9 bowlers, and we kind of got to a little struggle start there. But those next couple years after that, Wenatchee and Eastmont had strong teams, and it seemed like every year we'd both be right there. And these matches, we circled these matches on the thing. We know there's other matches that matter, but these matches right here were the ones you know, it's Battle of the Bridges, but here it's a little bigger than Battle of the Bridges. It's been for the league contention. I mean, between these two teams, they've won the last 6 league titles. They've won 3 state championships. The last 6 bowler of the years, the last 5 coaches of the years have all come out of these schools.
And that's something. And so when you start that, Jeremy, I mean, you look at the bowlers here and you see there's quite a few that are bowling families, that are kids that hung around the lanes. You know, nice pickup there for Alicia Hastings. But you've got kids that have come out to participate that never bowled before they came out here to try to bowl for their school.
it takes a lot of development. You're seeing that. I know that Christy has some great jobs she's done here. And over the years, like a couple of years ago when we won the state title, there was 4 girls in that team that never touched the ball before they started. Maybe they came down both their family every once in a while, but they weren't bowling on a regular basis. Had never really experienced bowling at a competitive level until they started bowling high school bowling, and ended up winning a state title. And 2 of them were great bowlers. And a couple of those girls, I mean, it just takes some time. You're not always going to have great bowlers come up through the ranks like Hannah Johnson or Kyla Hankins or a girl like Alicia Hastings or Sky Wilson have been bowling their whole entire time. Sam Hines, she really didn't bowl competitively until she started here at the team, and now she's on varsity. And it just really, you get lucky every once in a while, you get a couple that come through, but really it's about developing those other bowlers and knowing what you have coming down the pipeline, knowing what your freshmen and sophomores, and working with them, doing the basics of it. Because really, in bowling's in those sports, if you can teach the basics, other stuff can be adapted to, and more things can be learned. But getting the basics, right away helps a lot.
We're in the 9th frame, and how about this turn of events here as Emily Groth goes open? Colby Hull picked up a very tough spare on a split, and now coming a little bit too far across is Caitlin Craig, so she'll have a lot of work to do here on her second ball. But 9th frame, setting up your 10th, you had Colby pick up that tough split, and then Emily goes open with about a 30 to 40 pin differential between the 2 teams. And there's a beautiful strike for Jaden Thompson.
Jaden threw that one out, again, a little too much, but the speed wasn't there. So she was a little slower. The ball's able to work back there. Caitlin Craig, though, tough break for her because that was on a spare. So that was 3 pins on a spare, which then overall, that cost you about 9 pins altogether.
And a beautiful strike for Hannah Johnson. 3 in a row for Hannah, so she's got a turkey heading into the 10th. Sky Wilson will now step up. You've been talking about her speed. Fortunate not to get the split left there. She's got 1 pin to go.
Jessica Holbrook now setting herself up for a 10th frame. Quite a few girls with some good games going here. That time a little inside, more than she wanted to be. Lucky enough, it didn't break too far, though. She was about a board and maybe 2 boards inside from where she really wanted to be at in that ball. You can kind of tell as soon as that ball came off her hand, you knew it was going to be way inside there.
Ooh, Sky Wilson with a lot of speed there and just took herself right out of it.
And you could see right there, plastic ball, and that's one of those times where you kind of almost want the reactive ball because the plastic ball, it's not going to turn at all. It's going to go straight down and not break on you.
So Jessica trying to pick up the final 2 pins here in the 9th for Wenatchee. A nice job there. Wenatchee sitting pretty good shape here heading into the 10th frame. Samantha Hines have something to say about that. 8 in her first ball. Our broadcast here on the NCWLIFE channel brought to you by Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning. They service all brands of commercial and residential HVAC systems. Call 509-884-6444 for more information. These are tough to pick up, aren't they, when you got 1 pin in front of the other?
Sleeper counts are definitely a tough one to pick up here. And let's see what she throws, a plastic ball or a regular ball here for Samantha Hines. It looks like she's going to go to a plastic on this. No, she's going to go to a reactive, but a different reactive ball on her, and she gets it.
That's a good thing she did. She needed that weight on that ball to carry through to the second pin.
But looking at the game for Wenatchee overall, they're putting together one of their better games of the season right now. Really stepping it up here towards the end of the game and going to put it together. Looks like a pretty nice 900 game here. Eastmont, though, just struggling quite a bit here towards the end of the game, especially in that middle part of the order.
Alicia Hastings says, Jeremy, there's a strike for you, buddy.
Yeah, straight down and in there.
Alicia, by the way, clean ever since the first frame. When she was open in the first, she's been clean ever since. Here we go. 10th frame, first game. Kyla Hankins will start things off for Wenatchee High School.
Kyla, nice way outside there. I don't think she planned on that ball working the way it did. I mean, she was all the way out there to about the 2 board, and it came all the way back, though. Her speed was a little slower, though. Slow speed, sometimes you get a little more reaction out of it. I don't think that was a ball that Coach Jeff Levitt really wanted to see out there that far. But once the reaction came out there, it worked out pretty well.
Made everybody hold their breath for a minute for the Wenatchee side. But she'll certainly take the strike. Meanwhile, 9 for Colby Hull in her first ball here in the 10th.
That ball not as far out there, just down and smooth. It was like we said earlier, 2 of the girls you don't want to see string together too many strikes as they didn't before is both Kyla Hankins and Alicia Hastings, and they both had a little breaks there, but back to striking ways. And Kyla Hankins putting together a very nice game here. Colby Hull, though, respectable 140 game here. Had a couple breaks there in the 7th and 8th frame that really cost her some pins.
Kyla Hankins ready to finish up her first game here in game 1. Had that ball start out wide again. Was able to get 6. And a 232 for Kyla Hankins. How about that? Meanwhile, some bumper cars happening down there with the pins, but they just won't take that 6 out. So 9 for Colby Hull in her final ball. She finishes with a 145. That's just about her average on the season. Here we go to Emily Groth for Wenatchee.
Emily threw that one a little too fast down there on the outside, too. She was out about a board farther than she wants to be on the breaking point.
Caitlin Craig still trying to find the range here. Goes Brooklyn. Ends up with a single pin remaining. Why Brooklyn? Why not New Jersey or something like that?
You know, I honestly don't know. Other than maybe they were bowling in New York and the guy went to the left side. And went to the left side
happened to be on the Brooklyn
side.
side of the alley. Nice pickup there for Emily. She'll have one more ball here in the 10th frame.
I'm sure if somebody wanted to Google it, they could probably figure out the answer.
Sure.
But you know, it's one that I've never actually asked the question to. And Caitlin Craig pulls that one quite a bit.
Ouch.
Tough single pin spare.
A 128 for Caitlin Craig. Meanwhile, Emily Groth with her 3rd ball here in the 10th frame for Wenatchee as the Panthers look to be in good shape for this one to win the first game. She gets 7 in her final ball, so a 177. Certainly respectable for Emily Groth, whose average is 161 on the season. Sky Wilson now for Eastmont on the left side.
Right down the middle once again there, leaving the 3-10 split. We've seen that split quite a bit today from a lot of bowlers. See if she doesn't pick it up. As Jaden Thompson, last one threw way out there. Let the ball kind of roll back in there. This time a little farther inside.
Nudged the head pin, but still 3 remaining for her. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson with some work to do here on lane 7.
Good spare there for Sky Wilson. Notice too on Jaden Thompson, her speed. Every bowler has something that's different, and on hers it seems like the speed. When the speed's down a little bit, a little better carry, a little better ball reaction, a little smoother too on her release. When the ball speed picks up a little bit there, not getting in as much.
You can see on her release too when she's winding up to throw it. I mean, the ball almost comes behind her back.
And that time actually you could see her twist her hand there. When she came back, she actually rotated the ball back behind her and then came all the way through. Not something you want to see or want to feel as a bowler either, because that'll definitely be painful sometimes.
So 8 in the final ball for Sky Wilson. Sky with a 161 here for Eastmont. And now Hannah Johnson.
Hannah had a big streak there, but you saw that time. She'd been just playing that down and in line there, and you saw that time go all the way out to about the 5 board before it came back. Definitely get the reaction she wanted.
Samantha Hines working on a nice game here for Eastmont. She only had 1 frame where she was not clean. Everything else has been good so far. And here she comes in the pocket. And 1 remaining. I was lucky not to get a split right there for Eastmont. Hannah, speaking of splits, trying to pick this one up. She got 2 of the remaining pins. So Hannah Johnson's first game of the day will be a 188. Nothing to sneeze at there, that's for sure. Samantha Hines working on lane 7. Picks up her spare, so she'll get another ball here in the 10th. Jessica Holbrook, meanwhile, final bowler here in game 1 for the Wenatchee Panthers.
Like I said, Wenatchee sitting about that 900 score there. That ball there, not too far out. Played that right inside lane there. Solid right in the pocket.
Samantha Hines a little bit high. Her final ball, 7 pins there. So Samantha finishes with a 184. Jessica Holbrook working off of a strike here in her first ball of the 10th frame. She's been clean since the 5th.
Once again, straight down the middle there, a little flare out to the side. That time there didn't kind of throw it out as much as she had before. That one didn't have as much break, not as much carry over to the left side.
It seems that through this game, this right lane has changed.
Just a hair. I haven't seen too much of a change on it. Really, the biggest thing is just the bowlers being consistent in their release and they're consistent in their line. Through the bowlers you have seen throw it, it's maybe changed by a half a board or a board, but nothing too much. Alicia Hastings with a solid 5-pin there. A tough break for her.
Ooh.
And Jessica Holbrook
missing her final pin opportunity, and a 180 for Jessica. 9:34 for Wenatchee. A spare for Eastmont's Alicia Hastings. She'll get one more ball here, but the Wenatchee Panthers will take game one of our afternoon rolling here at Eastmont Lanes.
And every pin's important, though. That's the thing about this match is, between Bakers and your other game, I mean, every pin is important here because sometimes you might lose this game, but next game you might win by 100, and it comes down to those Baker games there. And we've seen it happen to Baker before where one team shoots 130, one team shoots 230. You can make up 100 pins really fast.
And a strike for Alicia Hastings, so exclamation point to her. 207 here in game one for the Eastmont Wildcats, who finish with 827 pins. So 827 to Wenatchee's 934. Our broadcast brought to you by BioSports Physical Therapy, providing the best environment, most qualified, experienced therapists in North Central Washington. You have the right to select your healthcare team. Why wouldn't you choose the best? Choose BioSports. So Wenatchee takes game one. We'll come back for game two right after this timeout. You're watching bowling today on the NCWLIFE channel.
Hi, I'm Kevin Prosser, and this is my print shop, Color FX in Cashmere. Color FX offers screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing on t-shirts, jerseys, bags, banners, signs, and more. With 30 years experience, you won't be disappointed with the quality and quick turnaround times you will get at more than a fair price. Please call Color FX.
When you call Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, you get 35 years of experience and customer service in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's friendly staff strongly believe in repairing before replacing and service all major brands of HVAC units. Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning is your local, independent, trained comfort specialists, proudly serving all of North Central Washington. Call 884-6444 today.
Thanks for watching sports on the NCWLIFE channel. Brought to you by One Way Construction, premier custom home builders and construction company for North Central Washington, including general contracting, framing, concrete, and consulting services. OneWayConstructionNW.com. The Fireplace Guys, Central Washington's most trusted names in fireplace and barbecue sales, installation, and service, located at 1205 Walnut Street, Wenatchee. TheFireplaceGuy.net. And Beneficial In-Home Care, your compassionate in-home care provider. All the benefits of assisted living while remaining within the comfort of your own home.
The Walkabout Grill, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner in downtown Wenatchee and now downtown Leavenworth, where eating out is eating healthy.
Welcome back to Eastmont Lanes along with Jeremy Anders. I'm Eric Grandstrom here on the NCWLIFE channel, and Wenatchee taking game one here of our afternoon of bowling at Eastmont Lanes. 9:34 to 8:27. What jumped out at you, Jeremy, in that first game?
Really, it was strong at the end of the game. I feel like Wenatchee was really good about that. Both teams were pretty even all the way through about the 6th or 7th frame, and then Wenatchee really finished strong there towards the end of that game. Going to be a couple substitutions for both teams here coming in here, and that's going to be interesting to see. Anytime you have 3 girls bowling above a 180 game like Wenatchee had there, you got to feel pretty good about yourself there. Eastmont only had 2 above the 180 game there, but 1 girl in the 120s, that kind of hurts you a little bit there. But anytime you bowl a 900, you got to feel confident. Eastmont bowled a very respectable game there as a team, but just not good enough to beat Wenatchee. I think right now, though, the biggest thing here for Eastmont is if they want a chance, they got to start off very strong here. They got to get a couple of the girls to go and maybe string 2 or 3 strikes together right off the bat.
Well, let's talk about the lineups here for game two as we are underway, as Kyla Hankins will waste little time to start things off here for Wenatchee, and she'll strike in her first ball in the first frame here of game two. And that's what we saw, a lot of a theme from her to end the first game for the Wenatchee Panthers. Meanwhile, 8 for Colby Hull. The freshman will get the leadoff spot here for Eastmont. The rest of the lineup here for Coach Jeff Levitt. Emily Groth will be the second bowler as she has a split in her first ball. She'll be followed by Kayla Musgrove. Get it right here, Kayla Musgrove, sophomore for Wenatchee High School. Hannah Johnson, the sophomore, will bowl the fourth. And then the anchor bowler for Wenatchee will be Jessica Holbrook. Meanwhile, a pickup here for Colby Hull. Freshman seems to be settling in here and kind of settling some of the nerves. She'll be followed by the replacement for Coach Christy Bingy here. Dalen Thomas will step up, and the sophomore will be the number 2 bowler here for the Eastmont Wildcats. And Emily struggles in her first bowl, or first lane, or first frame, that is. Dalen Thomas, meanwhile, gets 9 in her first ball. She'll be followed by Sky Wilson, Samantha Heinz, and Alicia Hastings for Eastmont High School.
Good ball there early on for Dalen, a little high. As you see, Kayla Musgrove come out. She had a 184 game last game down there in the JV side, bowling very well there. And Dalen with about a 165 game down there on her side. So both those girls had strong games last games, coming back up here in front of a great crowd here at Eastmont Lanes today, by the way. And interesting to note, I was looking back behind here in the last 2 games, and how many alumni from both Wenatchee and Eastmont High School bowling programs who have kind of came back, who haven't been here for a while. I usually come to the matches, and cool to see them back here supporting both their teams. Absolutely.
Here's the second ball for Kyla Musgrove. And Kayla, I got to get that right. I had it until you said something before we came back on the air here. Sky Wilson, meanwhile, very close to nudging that final pin over, but she'll have 1 remaining here to pick up in her first frame here for Eastmont High School. Again, as we had the end of the first game, with Wenatchee winning at 934 to 827. That is 107 pins separating the 2 teams. So 107 pins separating the 2 teams heading into game 2 here at Eastmont High School, or Eastmont Lanes. Meanwhile, the 6 pin, thought about it for Hannah Johnson, but not quite. So she'll have a little work to do here on the pickup. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson trying to finish off her first frame with a spare, just missing to the right side of it.
And we talked about nerves coming in this one. Kayla has not bowled a full game so far on varsity as a sophomore. She's bowled a couple of Baker games here and there. And so, definitely a big match to make your varsity debut for a full game here. We'll see how she holds on to that.
No kidding. Samantha Hines, meanwhile, steps up here on lane 7 for the Eastmont Lady Cats. Samantha looking for the pocket, found it, and knocks them all down.
That was another one of those balls. You could see it came off her hand just right, looked perfect all the way through, and tough break for Hannah Johnson there. We've seen it multiple times. If you don't, and you've seen it on a few of these drills, and what I'm going to say is, to shoot those cross lanes the way the oil patterns right now, you almost need your body over all the way to the right side to shoot complete cross lanes. If you stand in the middle of it all, your ball's going to get stuck in that oil, not want to break it all.
Alicia Hastings, going to start things off with a split after a nice 207 in her first game of the day. Jessica Holbrook finding the pocket, little hip wiggle there to help with the English, and so she'll get a strike to start things off here for Wenatchee High School.
So Kyla and Jessica booking in the frame for the Panthers with strikes there, but in the middle, a little struggle there. So even after the first frame, really not a whole lot there, but we didn't really see what we wanted to see from Eastmont there. We need a couple of those girls to string strikes together. Samantha got 1 there, but they need a couple more girls to kind of step up to the plate.
48-44, our score after the first frame with Eastmont on top. Wenatchee's Kyla Hankins stepping up here for the second frame, and 1 remaining. Nice ball for her. Got a little help from the pin action. Speaking of pin action, how about Colby Hull? The freshman comes up with a strike.
I got to tell you this, though, as Christy, as a coach, has got to feel pretty good that you have a freshman in there that's staying strong, not breaking down at all. Didn't have the best of games that first game there, but definitely has thrown some very good balls, shown some confidence. And when you're looking at your future right now, you're feeling pretty good seeing a freshman that kind of scores.
Absolutely. Here is Dalen Thomas. A little bit high, 8 though, workable here for her as she was clean through the first frame for Eastmont High School. Emily Groth, after an open in the first frame, coming up here in the second, and again, high.
You saw that there. She had kind of a little hop in her step there. She does that sometimes, you notice, and that sometimes can throw your balance off a little bit there. Pulled the ball a little bit on the inside there away from the pocket.
Nice pickup for Daylin Thomas. Our broadcast brought to you by the Alignment Pros and Express Lube. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube, including front and four-wheel alignment. Online at alignpros.com or at 182 Eastmont Avenue. Nice job picking up the spare there for Emily Groth. Shaved that pin to the right. Was able to get it to coax it down.
Much smoother there on her spare. And once again, seeing Sky pull that back to the left side. I think she kind of knows that sometimes, and that's just the line she's going for. Got to get a 10-pin here. She got one earlier in the day. She's got to get another one here. Single-pin spares going to matter a lot for Eastmont coming towards the end here.
Kayla Musgrove, 8 in her first ball after an open in the first frame for her, stepping up to roll for the varsity here. Sky Wilson trying to pick up this one. She shook her head as soon as she let it go. She knew. Shot it wide to the right.
Usually shooting a 10-pin with a plastic ball, you know as soon as that ball comes off your hand, you know the direction it's going to go. You might have one or two that are going to slim by there, but you kind of know right away if you're going to make it.
Kayla Musgrove going for the pickup here. Nice job covering. And as you step up as having a young bowler like that, step up to the varsity side, how important is that to have that first cover and, okay, all right, the pins are going down for me?
It's a confidence thing, and you know I've talked to Christy about it, and Jeff and Jay way back when, and a lot of other coaches too. We call it the imaginary line. That's they're bowling the same exact bowling alley, and there's an imaginary line between varsity and JV. And it's like as soon as they come to the varsity side, sometimes they forget everything they learned down on the JV side, or they forget it's a different line. And so getting that first mark is a huge confidence booster for them because it just gives them the confidence to know it's the same exact thing. There's nothing different up here. It's just that it's a little more competition, a little more intense.
Samantha Hines, tough luck on that pick up for her. She gets 2 of the 3 remaining, so she's open here in the second. Meanwhile, Jessica Holbrook stepping up for Wenatchee High School. And a beautiful ball there. A couple of strikes in a row for Jessica Holbrook.
Jessica had a good game that first game. I'd love to bounce back here at the 200-plus game on the seniors.
Alicia Hastings a little light on the pocket with 1 remaining after her first ball here in the second. She was open in the first. Our broadcast also brought to you by Automoka. What's your Automoka emergency? Visit one of their 6 locations in the valley, including the only Automoka with inside seating on 5th Street across from the college. Alicia Hastings wrapping up the second frame here. Looking for the pickup, and she's got it.
So pretty close in this match still, but Wenatchee showing a slight advantage with their mark count and with the double from Jessica Holbrook, but Colby Hull could really light things up here, wildfire style, with a double, and she does.
How about that for Colby Hull, the freshman coming through for Eastmont. Lady Cats with a little face bling here. As Kyla Hankins working on the opposite side there.
And we talked about at the beginning of the show is that leadoff spot there. In my years, I've always sometimes had some of my better bowlers bowl the leadoff spot because sometimes I feel that is the most important part that I have. Because a leadoff bowler, you want somebody there that is just really good at just getting the whole entire group pumped up, good at just getting solid counts the whole entire way there as Kylie gets a tough spare. And you want that pressure spot down there at the bottom, the person that can handle the pressure. So that first and fifth bowler, usually your top 2 bowlers right there.
Daylin Thomas trying to pick up that always tough 10-pin. Can't get it here. As she's open for the first time in her game now that she stepped up to the varsity side. Emily Groth now for Wenatchee. Again, just missing the pockets. We'll have a couple of pins to work with here in her second ball of the third frame. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson for Eastmont trying to find the fit of the pockets as well as her speed.
Ball change. So she goes with the ball change there, and that one a little bit smoother that time actually on that ball there. She really, from what I looked at there, maybe off about a half a board of where she wanted to be, pointing the ball in there. You saw the ball break a little bit more than her last ball.
And a nice pickup for Emily Groth. You talk about plastic bowl versus the composite. Is that what you're
reactive?
Referring to? Reactive ball. Is there a difference in weight of those balls as well?
Difference of weight is also different on the core of the ball. I mean, a plastic ball literally is just a plastic ball all the way through. These reactive balls really you have about probably 150 different types of weight blocks in the middle, and that really the weight block can matter of how they shift the ball. So how that ball breaks and how that ball carries all the way through matters on where their ball's going to break. If it's going to be a ball that goes really long and breaks early, or a ball that breaks late. And then just the outside. I mean, some of these balls are sanded down pretty much, and some of these balls are polished up, and that really creates the friction between the lane surface. So that can really that creates how the difference is between the ball, your ball reacts. And some people think, oh, like that comes off the streets and comes a bowl, and they go and just throw the ball with 2 fingers in the ball and make a hook and think, oh, that you can do that with these balls here. You do that with one of these balls here, and unless you're somebody who's really good at that ball's gonna go completely off. The lane's there. You have to do that with a plastic ball. But these balls here, their job is, like I tell the girls before, is their job is to do work. They want to work, and you just gotta let them do the work. And as long as you can throw it in the right direction, hit your right mark, and be good there. And Hannah Johnson showed you right there. The ball goes long, and then right at the end it breaks right in there into the pocket.
Hannah Johnson with a couple of strikes in a row here for Wenatchee High School. Alicia Hastings wrapping up the 3rd frame for Eastmont. A little light in the pocket. She'll have 3 remaining. Our broadcast brought to you by Color Effects, offering screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, and logo design for your team, school, business, or church at a fair price. Jessica Holbrook, going to have a split to work with there. Locally owned for over 20 years, Color Effects. Give them a call at 509-741-7609.
Saw that time Jessica threw the ball just a hair out too far. Had a couple good balls there before that. Right now, Alicia Hastings, she's throwing the ball maybe out just a little too far. Just kind of needs to slow down her speed a little bit there. Throwing the ball just a little too fast.
Oh, nice attempt at the pickup for Jessica Holbrook. Gets 2 out of it. So as we're through the 3rd here at Eastmont Lanes, close 208 to 198. So Wenatchee has taken the lead here over Eastmont here in this 3rd frame.
Kyla Hankins, who's been on fire of lately, throws another solid ball there.
And some of the ladies, too, you just can't tell one way or another with their facial expressions when they turn back towards the camera if they liked it or not.
They're in game mode right now. I mean, you could, I've had some great games before, and sometimes, to keep your focus, you just stay in game mode. You kind of sometimes just keep those emotions wrapped. Towards the end of the game, though, you notice that, early on in the game, they're kind of keeping it in, but by the end of the game, they let the emotions come out quite a bit.
Colby Hull trying to do what she can to pick up the most that she can. She gets 2 out of the 3 on that split there. A couple of strikes in a row. Meanwhile, for the Wenatchee Panthers, Kyla Hankins and Emily Grove follows with a strike. Kayla Musgrove. God, I got to start. I just need to respell it on my sheet here. Kayla.
We just need like a Kelsey or somebody else in there, too, to throw it off all at the same time.
Kayla 8 on her first ball.
Daylin, one of those bowling family generations. Leaving a solid 5-pin there, but hey, it's a good single pin spare to go after. Definitely you see the variance of ball speeds here. Daylin probably one of the slower ones there at 11 miles per hour, and you're seeing some of the other girls throw about 16, 17 miles per hour. So ball speed, it really matters a lot too. I mean, the slower the ball goes, the more reaction you're going to get out of it. It also matters on your hand placement. That's one of the other big things, and you can see some of these girls that put what we like to say put more hand on the ball. It means they kind of give it a little more oomph to put more carry on the ball. And some of these girls just kind of let the ball roll by itself.
Daylin Thomas picks up her spare. She's clean in 3 of the 4 frames so far. Meanwhile, Kayla Musgrove open here in the 4th. We head to the next Wenatchee bowler. Hannah Johnson working on 2 strikes in a row. Starts it out wide, comes back in. And a turkey for Hannah Johnson.
So we talked about at the beginning of the show, but Hannah Johnson's all game day today. All on it. See, Sky Wilson comes back here. Back to her other ball. Brooklyn strike there. So Sky Wilson lines up there, but it's what Eastmont need. They need a few girls just to get on a roll here, but the unfortunate thing is Wenatchee's doing the same thing.
Yeah. Jessica Holbrook just found that nice lane again. Nice line on a strike for her. She's got 3 out of 4 strikes in this game so far, and a little mini split there for Samantha Hines.
So good frame there for Wenatchee. 4 out of 5 strikes. Got a turkey in there as well to work off of. Kind of what you want to see in the middle of the game. That's a very good, strong frame to have in the middle.
Girls, you see is on the screen here, you'll see them turn back and look off of our television camera. They're getting instruction from their coaches. Nice attempt there for Samantha Hines on the pickup. She got a couple of pins, but open here in the fourth. And as a former coach, Jeremy, I know you're talking to us about what you're seeing. They getting the similar instruction down there from their coach and assistant coaches on the lanes right now?
I saw one thing that I said get relayed to another. I don't know if that was the coach overheard me or not, but they are doing the same instruction here as we saw Kayla Musgrove have a little bit of struggle there. And so Jeff Levitt is going to make a change there in the middle of the order to Maddie Monroe to come up to that position. So, I mean, they're watching the same thing. They know how close this match is here. And it's really on these bowlers here, little adjustments go a long ways in bowling. But the biggest thing is, though, is you got to make those adjustments. If the bowlers don't make those adjustments, there's not a change there. And the problem sometimes is you may, as a coach, relay a message to the bowlers to make that adjustment, and they don't do it, but they come back to you and they say, well, it didn't work. Well, the bowler never made the adjustment or hit the right marker they're supposed to. And so sometimes it's just a confidence and mental thing altogether there. As
Colby with a strike, and Kyla with a strike to start off here in the fifth frame for both schools. Again, it'll be Maddie Monroe that'll bowl third here for the Wenatchee Panthers. Meanwhile, Emily struggles on her release on that particular ball. Daylin Thomas has been pretty regular here for Eastmont since she stepped up in this match, and she'll have a single pin to pick up here on her second ball.
And a lot of times when you're bringing that girl off at JV, you don't need to bring them up to a bunch of strikes. You just want somebody to get their spares. That's what you want, and that's what she's done so far. She's, for the most part, filled her frames there with spares.
Beautiful second ball after just things didn't work out so well in the first ball for Emily Groth. She picks up her spare, and so too does Daylin Thomas. So, by the way, the score after that fourth frame was 291 to 286. Eastmont had retaken the lead here, and stepping up to the varsity, Maddie Monroe will have work to do after her first ball on lane 8.
And we talk about it before. I kind of joke about it because it's been this way for so long. And Sky Wilson, she made the adjustment to a different ball in lane 7, different ball in lane 8, and worked out pretty well for her double. But we talked about that imaginary line between the varsity and the JV. You look down, and Maddie was doing pretty well, had 2 strikes and a good 9 count down there. Comes over here, and it's sometimes it's a tough thing. It's a mental thing. It's a whole different atmosphere. There's not much pressure down on the JV side, and I've talked to girls over the years that, you know, it's a little more relaxed down there. They come up here, it's a little more competition, a little more intense on this side up here, and they know it matters a little bit more. And so that's the tough thing about going across that imaginary line that's there.
Well, and I wanted to ask you too, does it matter that we're here with the television cameras? Does that put any more pressure on them?
The girls always knew when the Eastmont Wenatchee match was coming. They knew that the crowd was going to be bigger. They knew that they'd have admin here. You always see the Wenatchee Eastmont match always shows up the principals, the superintendents, a lot of other people there, and you knew the TV was going to happen. And they knew about that. They knew it was going to be a match that a lot of their friends might be able to see and go somewhere else. So there's a lot of things that happen in this match compared to other matches. A lot of other matches, there's not as many people here. There's still a great crowd, but it's not packed like it is now. And so it's a little more relaxed in those other matches. And so this is a match where, you know, when you're bowling varsity, it's kind of an intimidating thing for sure.
Hannah Johnson with a nice pickup on her spare. And she's been clean since the first. Meanwhile, it is Alicia Hastings stepping up for Eastmont as the Wildcats could take a little bit of a sizable lead here in the fifth. If Alicia can come through, she'll have some work to do on her spare. Jessica Holbrook, meanwhile, stepping up for Wenatchee, working off a strike in her last ball and 6 in her first ball here in the fifth.
That one she laid down. Just looks like a little too early there. Didn't get the full roll on the ball that she wanted to.
Alicia Hastings, tough pickup here.
Tough break for Alicia Hastings there. The only open for Wenatchee that frame, fifth frame, middle of the game though. Very close match. This is even closer than it was last game. All the way through, you got a couple bowlers with doubles, a couple opens going into it. I mean, it's a deadlock right now. Only about 12 pins separate him going in here.
Back and forth we go. 380 for Wenatchee, 368 for Eastmont through 5 as we're halfway through the second game here at Eastmont High School. Appreciate you joining us on the NCWLIFE channel. Kyla Hankins with a strike, 3 in a row now for Kyla.
And Emily Knoll, good ball right there. Just consistently, that's what you want, that leadoff bowler. You don't need a lot of strikes there, but you want somebody to get their marks. And the marks are really what counts. If you look up as a bowler and you're looking up and you're seeing opens at the top at your leadoff, you don't want to see that. You want to see those solid marks there.
Emily Groth with 8 in her first ball here in the 6th. Meanwhile, just off the mark is Colby Hull, so she is open here in the 6th for Eastmont. We talk about having 2 pins on the side there, easier to pick up than one, and that was the case there. Had that been the 10 pin by itself, no chance. But Emily gets a nice spare here in the 6th.
And you have a little more wiggle room and lead-off room when it's going between the two. As comes down to Maddie's second time. A little bit smoother this time. Maybe shuck off those emotions that first time through. And split there. Now the interesting thing to note is once a bowler is changed out, as Dalen Thomas comes with a big strike, once you're changed out, though, you can't change out that position again until the end of the game. So that position is locked in now. You can't make any substitutions on that third bowler position for Wenatchee now until the end of the game. So that's the other thing as a coach is you have to make sure you make the right change of who you're going to put in there.
Oh, Maddie with a nice attempt at the spare. And how would that have changed her confidence if she would have picked that one up?
That would have been a big confidence booster there. Probably would have got a good reaction from the crowd for sure.
Sky Wilson with a little trailing pin helping out. She'll have 1 pin left here in the 6th for Eastmont. Meanwhile, Wenatchee's Hannah Johnson stepping up, working off a spare in the 5th. And she'll have 1 more to get here in the 6th.
Solid 10 pin. It's always the one that everybody loves to see out there. It's the one that you go to bed at night as a bowler and you have nightmares about.
And nice job by Sky Wilson to pick up that dreaded 10 pin. Well, Hannah Johnson has a couple of words with her team before she steps up here, finds the correct board with her right toe and approaches. And just smoothly picks up that spare.
Sam Hines, let's see how she does here on her release. A little pull on that ball to the Brooklyn side. Gets a little help there, knocks that sleeper out.
There's so much in this game, Jeremy. I mean, it's your feet, it's your release, it's the ball, it's the thumb sticking or your hands getting sweaty, it's the lane. The oil on the lane, the oil on your ball, the oil on your shoes,
and your mental game. It's really, during my time, it's always been about the mental game, keeping the mental game intact, and really because your timing and your mental game are a big thing about it. And if you get up there and just take your time, and sometimes you see, you'll watch it here in the match, you'll see some girls who get up there and rush between their first ball and their second ball. And you don't want to see that all. You want to see the mental game stay focused and stay zoomed in on the game.
No.
But definitely all other stuff, though. And the thing is, though, I'm sure at some point, whatever you have, they make a tool for it. Like, if you're one of those bowlers who gets really sweaty hands, they have a rosin ball for it. If there's one that you stick on your shoes, they have Easy Slide for it. They have something for everything to help you with everything as well. So
8 in the first ball for Alicia Hastings. Meanwhile, Jessica Holbrook is open. So Wenatchee sits at 474 after the 6th frame here. Eastmont.
You're starting to see quite a bit of movement now in the lanes from where you did before. Definitely some adjustments are starting to be made now. They're up as Alicia Hastings, a tough spare there. You're probably going to start seeing some bowlers making some changes in their lines, but also maybe a few ball changes here and there between the bowlers.
13 pin difference. Wenatchee on top as we're through 6, heading to the 7th. And the freshman Colby Hull starts things off for Eastmont with 9 in her first ball. Meanwhile, Kyla Hankins working on 3 strikes in a row. She's been clean through every but one so far in the second game and just didn't quite get that bounce off the wall she was hoping. 10 pin remaining. And starting wide, staying wide, and scooting past it in the gutter is Colby Hull. So she's open here in the 7th.
So Kyla Hankins going for a big spare here, 10th frame. She missed one of these earlier. She gets that one there.
Nice Nice job by Kyla to focus in here. Wenatchee again winning the first game. We're in the second. It'll be followed by a couple of Bakers. And a light ball there for Dalen Thomas, and she split.
That is a tough split there to get to leave. It's a tough one to get as well, because not only do you have to knock the 3-pin all the way over to the 7-pin, but you have the 9-pin as a sleeper back there. So that's a tough one to convert, because you got to knock one over, but you got to make sure you fall all the way through to get carry on your ball to get the sleeper behind it.
We'll see what Dalen Thomas is able to accomplish here.
She might have got it.
Oh, ball just didn't come back enough for her. 2 out of the 4 remaining. So Dalen is open here in the 7th. Meanwhile, that lonely pin down there, but a nice pickup for Emily Groth. So Emily is, well, after starting the game off rather rough, she's been clean ever since. So nice job by Emily Groth to bounce back. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson, it's been kind of an adventuresome game for her, depending on which side she's on. Now she's gone to that other ball again, and how about a strike?
That may have been her best ball we've seen all day long for her, right down in the pocket. You saw the ball actually break into the pocket there, carried all the way through, and we'll see how it goes next time. She's been throwing a different ball between 7 and 8, and I would be interested to see if she threw that ball on lane 8 now for the next time through.
Manny Monroe, meanwhile, gets more conventional leave after a couple of tough balls to start as she was brought up from the JV squad over. Meanwhile, a split here for Samantha Hines. Ouch. And a nice pickup for Maddie Monroe. Nice job, Maddie.
You can see you crack a little smile that time through after a couple tough breaks.
You got to wonder, what do I got to do?
That's got to feel good, too. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that, you know, I was told, girls, that if you're smiling and you're happy, you're going to bowl better than if you're not happy and not smiling. So
Samantha Hines going to try to scoot this one over. Instead, misses everything there. We talk about such a close match. There was 107 pins differentiating Wenatchee and Eastmont after the first game. And we've been back and forth in this one. 13-pin differential heading into the 7th frame here, as Hannah Johnson has 1 remaining after her first ball in the 7th. Alicia Hastings, meanwhile, has had a couple of open frames in a row. Unlikely for her. And now she finds the pocket but doesn't get the bounce and has a split left over.
Not just any split, the 7-10 split, which, you know, I can say that I've had, you know, my fair share of good games and great series ever. I've left this quite a bit. Not as much as I used to, but I've picked it up one time, but you do not see it picked up very often at all. It's a very tough one to pick up, and you just have to hit the pins perfectly just right. You see these picked up a lot rarely than you do 300 games bowled.
Alicia gets 1 of the 2. So Eastmont is through here in the 7th at 5:23. Meanwhile, the first ball for Jessica Holbrook, 7-3 remaining for her. She's trying to clean things up after being open in the 6th. Our broadcast brought to you by Global Car Care, a quality auto repair facility with highly trained technicians. Celebrating 25 years in the car care business, they speak your car's language at 1840 North Wenatchee Avenue.
As this is going to be a tough frame for Eastmont to bounce back from here.
Oh, but just as we mentioned that, Jessica Holbrook is open. So am I reading that back right? 560? Yes, 560 for Wenatchee through 7 to 523 for Eastmont. Wildcats really need a strong 8th here and have to have a little help from Wenatchee in this particular frame.
Yeah, if Wenatchee wants a chance to come back and get this one, they definitely need to string a few strikes together here, and hopefully that Wenatchee doesn't do that and have Kyla Hankins get back on board there. Any of the other girls, as Colby Knoll comes in there.
Oh, hit the pocket, but just didn't get the help she wanted.
Colby solid in the pocket there, leaving the 5-10. It looks tougher than it actually is. It's one of the, I guess not say easier, but more convertible bigger splits to get. You just got to kind of slide the 5-pin over there right into the 10-pin. As we like to say, you almost want to throw a Brooklyn ball to pick this up. You got to aim to shoot a Brooklyn ball to kind of slide that 5-pin over.
Emily Groth finds the pocket, but still has 1 pin remaining. Meanwhile, here comes Kobe Hull. Freshman trying to do it. Ooh, kicked it behind.
Close, though. Right idea. She was right there, just off by just a hair there to knock that 5-pin over.
Emily Groth with that lone pin remaining here as she will try to get her spare in the 8th. And does. Just a spare machine here for the Wenatchee Panthers. Dalen going Brooklyn. And strikes for Eastmont, coming back after an open in the 7th.
Might need what Wenatchee needs right there. See if Sky Wilson can double up here. A double here for Eastmont would be huge. But right as we say that,
Maddie Monroe
comes in there and
little toe point, little English on it.
Got one good ball there, second ball, and Sky Wilson though doubles back in there. So Eastmont not giving up right now as we're starting to tighten things back up here heading into the 9th frame.
Hannah Johnson working off 3 consecutive 9s and spares. Starts it out wide, coming back in, and another 9. 10 pin left over.
Samantha Hines and Alicia Hastings both struggling a little bit this game. Let's see if they can bounce back here. Ball change for Samantha Hines. And leaves that spare right there. A little light in the pocket on her ball. We've talked about that, about having to make a few adjustments as the game goes on and making the right adjustments.
Uh-oh. Hannah Johnson. Ball kind of came out awkwardly for her. And so she'll be open here in the 8th. Samantha just picks up 1 of the 3 remaining. So both bowlers open here. The 4th bowler for Eastmont and Wenatchee. Jessica Holbrook up next for the Wenatchee Panthers.
And she'll strike. So Wenatchee not giving too much there, but Eastmont not backing down too much as well. See, Alicia pulls that one quite a bit. So Eastmont's 2 best bowlers from last game, Alicia Hastings, Samantha Hines, struggling the most this game.
So through the 8th, it's 647 to 578. It's our score through 8 here at Eastmont Lanes in game 2. Wenatchee winning game 1, and Colby Hull getting a strike there. Unorthodox as it looked, it still comes through for her. Meanwhile, Kyla Hankins working off a strike. A little bit high on the head pin there. We'll have 3 remaining. Eastmont's going to have to get some help and have to be clean here as they set up their 10th frame. Daylin Thomas
rolls right in there. Oh,
see quite a few of those this game.
Quite a few girls who roll the ball a little slower and not as much carrying the ball. So, you know, you leave some kind of unusual lays sometimes, and what happened there is just the ball, you know, a little lighter, didn't carry all the way through the pocket there, and you kind of leave things that those are tough ones to pick up there because you have 2 pins on one side, but you have a little mini split, and Kyla Hankins misses that spare.
Daylin Thomas, chance to help the team out.
Oh,
2 of 3.
Right idea, the right way to pick that one up. Sky Wilson on a double.
And a nice strike for Emily Groth for Wenatchee. Sky's been clean ever since the 2nd frame. Starts it out wide, kind of out of control, but gets 9 out of the.
Good solid ball there, leaving the 7 pin here. Let's see what Maddie does.
You seem to, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems when you go Brooklyn, you get a little more pin action than you do more from the conventional pocket side. Is that true, or is that all about ball speed?
It's a little bit about both. A lot of times when you're going Brooklyn, you're throwing the ball. Sometimes you pull a little faster. You know, if you watch some of the good strikes we've seen straight in the pocket here, from girls who are a little more powerful, Kyla Hankins and Alicia Hastings, they throw a little more ball speed, a little heavier balls. When they hit solid pocket, you see some good pin action there. And you'll see that on some of these girls, but a lot of the girls who throw maybe a little lighter ball, they're going to get a lot more pin action on the Brooklyn side from their pocket side. As good ball there for Samantha Hines.
So is that the pin we see that just usually, I mean, just going all over the place. Is that the head pin usually?
Well, a lot of times it's a head pin because what you're doing that head pin is it'll usually come in and you're going to bounce it off the left side, come back across. And so usually it's the head pin that comes through there. Every once in a while you might see a 3-pin knock through there or a 2-pin knock through there, but usually it's the head pin you're getting the most action out of. So that's why it's so important to hit the head pin good and solid because you get more pin action off it.
Hannah Johnson with a strike, and a little bit high on the head pin there is Alicia Hastings.
And the whole point is if you hit the head pin straight on, like we just saw that with Alicia Hastings, the head pin just goes straight back. But if you hit the head pin just right, you might get a kick off the wall, and it might come back and kick back across and hit the 10 pin. And that's sometimes when you see those late rollers, those late kickback for pin actions, that's what happens sometimes. If you come down and watch a men's league game where you're throwing these guys like myself, we throw about 20 miles per hour, 19 miles per hour. We're throwing a little more ball speed, a little more rev action. You see some of our pocket strikes, and they're going to be crazy pin action compared to some Brooklyn Sykes.
Nice pickup there for Jessica Holbrook. So as we are through 9 frames here, 7:29 to 6:55. So Wenatchee extending its lead a little bit here as we get ready for the final frame in Game 2 between the Eastmont Wildcats and the Wenatchee Panthers.
Neither school bowling as good as they did last game. Still bowling well, but just not as good as they were last game. Kind of a little bit falling apart on both sides here towards the end of this game.
Colby Hull will have some work to do to pick up that spare. Meanwhile, Kyla Hankins left with 1 remaining here in her second ball of the 10th for Wenatchee. Kyla with a 232 in her first game and going to be open here in the 10th. So a little bit struggle here in Game 2 for Kyla, 179. Meanwhile, beautiful pickup for the freshman Colby Hull. So Wenatchee open, Eastmont covers. You just never know.
See what Emily Groth could do here on her first ball in the 10th frame. Got a good game going right now.
Colby Hull with 1 more ball. 7 for her. And so Colby will finish with a 158. Pretty good for that freshman for Eastmont High School. Oh, got some kick.
Not the way you want to pick it up, but it's the way it'll work sometimes.
Little kick, a little carry, a little help. Sure, why not? Dalen Thomas with a strike. Working off open ninth, so she likes to see that all fall down. Our broadcast brought to you by One Way Construction, a premier custom home builder and construction company for North Central Washington, including general contracting, framing, concrete, and consultation services online at onewayconstructionnw.com. Going Brooklyn.
So Daylin brought up to replace Caitlin Craig after last game. Caitlin had a 128 game there. And Daylin on track to do 150 games. So something you want to see there. You want to see the improvement in the score there.
Emily Groth, meanwhile, finishes with a 178. So pretty consistent between your first 2 bowlers for Wenatchee. A 179 for Kyla Hankins, a 178 for Emily Groth. And now stepping up is Maddie Monroe. Looking good. Beautiful strike that time. She didn't like her foot placement necessarily. Daylin Thomas, meanwhile, going to try to scoot that over for the pickup. She gets 2 of the 3, and Daylin will finish with a 158. So, yeah, consistency. 158 for Colby Hull, 158 for Daylin Thomas.
Unfortunately, that consistency on the Wenatchee side is 20 pins less than, on the Eastmont side to Wenatchee side. And Maddie Monroe, it took her a couple frames to get the ball rolling, but finishing out pretty strong here in this game. She took over for a tough game that was coming in there with only 1 mark, and she's finished strong here with 3 marks so far.
Sky Wilson, meanwhile, 8 in her first ball of the 10th. As Sky working on a great game here for Eastmont. She's been clean since the 2nd. And again, looking down at her feet was Maddie Monroe after she let go of that ball that went in the gutter. So Maddie combined with Kayla Musgrove will be a 120 for Wenatchee. And Sky can't pick that one up, so she's open here in the 9th. That's too bad. She had a great game going, and she'll finish with a 182 for Eastmont after a 161 in her first game. Hannah Johnson, meanwhile, for Wenatchee, working off a strike in the 9th. Going to start with a strike here in the 10th.
So 188 game last game. This game looking to finish in the 200s.
Samantha Hines, meanwhile, follows up her strike in the 9th with a strike here to start off the 10th.
Samantha's had a couple struggles along the way there. 3 splits in this game, and not something you want to see on your scoreboard with 3 splits.
Hannah Johnson with her second ball. 9 for her. Samantha Heights gets a little help there. 2 strikes in a row for Samantha.
So Samantha really salvaging a game here. Was not looking so strong in this game, and finding a way to get a 150 game. I mean, headed into the 9th frame, it was looking like a 120 path, but strong finish here.
Little kiss there for Hannah Johnson. So Hannah will finish her game with a 203. And just shy of that turkey here at the end, Samantha Hines with 9, and she will finish with a 159 for Eastmont. So 822 to 766 as we get ready for the final bowlers here for both in game 2. And Wenatchee's Jessica Holbrook, 9 in her first ball. Alicia Hastings, meanwhile, working off a spare in the 9th. 8 here in the 10th. Our broadcast brought to you by The Windmill, a time-tested restaurant providing traditional steakhouse meals and a homely old-fashioned in the dining room. Open 7 days a week, 4:30 to 9. Call 509-665-9529. And a spare there for Jessica. One more ball to come for Miss Holbrook. Coming across from right to left, Alicia Hastings trying to pick up the final 2, and she's not going to do it. So a rough game for Alicia Hastings here. A 125 for Eastmont's anchor bowler. And Jessica Holbrook going to put the exclamation point on another Wenatchee win. Split there, but that's her final ball in the 10th. She will finish with a 169. So 849 to 782 is our final score here as the Wenatchee Panthers take the second game to Baker's coming up. Our broadcast brought to you by Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning. They service all brands of commercial, residential, and HVAC systems. Call 509-884-6444 for more information. Also by Biosports Physical Therapy for providing the best environment, most qualified, experienced therapists in North Central Washington. You have the right to select your healthcare team. Why wouldn't you choose the best? Choose Biosports. We'll take a break, come back. Baker number 1 on the way next on the NCWLIFE channel.
Choose the pros, Alignment Pros. When your vehicle needs brakes, shocks, struts, or alignment, choose the experts in their field. Alignment Pros and Express Lube with a 5-star rating. The work they perform on your vehicle is as impeccable as their shop. With state-of-the-art equipment, Alignment Pros can handle all large or small vehicles, specialty cars, lifted or lowered. Alignment Pros does them all. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
What's your Automocha emergency?
It's a Frappuccino mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull.
Welcome back once again here to Eastmont Lanes. Just about ready for the first of the two Bakers as the Wenatchee Panthers hold a 174-pin lead heading into the Bakers. And Jeremy, you being a former coach, you being aware of the bowling world, 174 coming into two Bakers. I mean, you'd have to have a pretty big collapse in order not to win this match here today.
You know, I've seen weird things happen in bowling before, but yeah, you know, if Eastmont can put together a couple 279 games here and Wenatchee struggles with a couple 130 games, anything can happen, right? It is bowling, but you know, the biggest thing here for Wenatchee is, you know, they're trying to get the district to be here, but for Eastmont, it's really more of a confidence thing for them. You know, heading into districts knowing that there's two teams that go to state, you know, and if it's here at this home place, they know they had a very close match against Eisenhower. They know that they're, you know, they might not be right there with Wenatchee, but they're right there in the second, third spot in this league. Getting a win, just winning a match, winning the one of the Bakers, winning two of the Bakers would be really big for them because they still have 4 more matches this year before districts come either back here or to Yakima. So just confidence is a big thing for them. They're kind of a young team. They're a team that we talked about before, though. I mean, it's been something for them. They're coming off of 2 amazing years where they won the state tournament. I mean, you don't get much of that. So you have a couple girls who, you know, they haven't had the unfortunate side of having the downside of losing 3 or 4 matches a year. During those years they were, you know, undefeated or had one loss here or there. It doesn't, you know, now they're at the point where they're kind of, you know, looking up. They haven't had that for a while. So I think it's kind of something for them to maybe build that confidence up, you know, because first half of the year hasn't been the best year for them so far.
Well, we'll find out about the Bakers. Now, when it comes to tiebreakers, I don't know if they're, you know, I guess Wenatchee wins here today, then it's they and Eisenhower, you know, for the district title to get a chance to host the event. But do you go by total pin count when you start looking at tiebreaker situations, things like that, or does it even matter?
You know, I have to go back to look at the SOPs for this because it's been a couple years since I've had to be a part of that. We had one year it was really close, actually a tie between us and Wenatchee, so it didn't really matter. It was going to be here no matter what. I believe at one time it goes head-to-head first, and then second is, if they need to, would be a roll-off to see who hosts the district tournament. So I would have to double-check the SOPs on that, though. I will, you know, one of the ADs are around here somewhere. We could ask them if they know for sure. But we're still a little ways away from that. I mean, there's still matches that can happen. And, you know, we've seen that happen with all the teams. You know, any team at any time can step up. I mean, last match, we even talked to Jeff Levitt, was that, you know, Davis put them on the ropes. And Davis is a team that sometimes, you know, hasn't always had the best record against Wenatchee or Eastmont. But, you know, you go to the right bowling alley on the right day, and, you know, you never know, one of your girls gets sick or one of your girls, you know, gets injured of some sort, or their other team just steps up and bowls really well. So anything can happen these last few matches, and, you know, that 1-loss season might end up being a 2-loss season, and somebody else steps ahead of you. So, you know, take your wins when you can get them, but who knows? We may be back here in about 3 weeks for the district tournament.
I know both teams would love to see that. And with the rivalry that happens when they meet on the lanes against each other, they support each other even more fervently possibly when they're rolling against somebody else.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. In the last few years, it's always been that, you know, Wenatchee or Eastmont has been at the state as a team, and then there's always had individuals there. In fact, a couple years ago when Wenatchee won the team state title, we won the individual state title with Cheyenne Green. It's kind of been a tradition, and I don't know because I wasn't there last year, but in years before that, we'd always have team dinners together at state tournament. You know, Wenatchee and Eastmont would all get together at the Spaghetti Factory in Tacoma, and we'd all go there and on the Friday night and kind of get together. And so that's kind of the thing is, you know, when we went over there and they went over there, it was kind of a big support system as well.
So Daylin Thomas will be the lead bowler here in the first Baker for Eastmont. Meanwhile, Kyla Hankins with an 8. Daylin will be the lead bowler. Then Megan Lindell, they're bringing up from junior varsity to roll here in the first Baker for Eastmont, and 9 pins down for Daylin Thomas. And meanwhile, Kyla Hankins will work trying for the spare here, and nicely done for her as the first frame. This will go quickly because the Bakers, you roll twice and that's it. So it's a team event for sure in the Bakers, and I love this type of bowling.
Yeah, Bakers definitely brings the team aspect into the bowling style. You know, you're bowling individually, but as a team before in those first 2 games. But this is really a team aspect. You need your person in front of you and your person behind you. If you're bowling well, it doesn't really matter if they're struggling, because to bowl really well games, you need to bowl spares and strikes, and string them together. Megan Lindell, tough break there. Her first ball up there. Lindell had a 195 game last game down on the JV side, and she's one of those bowlers we talked about that really didn't bowl ever before she came to bowling up here.
That's something.
And now up here, and had a chance to watch her grow as a bowler since she started, and just a junior, third year in bowling. Not the best start she wanted there.
But Emily Groth is open on her split, so meanwhile she has a chance to regroup here. And pin count, that's what we're about here. 7 on her second ball for Megan. Now rolling for Wenatchee, Jaden Thompson, who'd back up and strikes here in the third for Wenatchee and their Baker. Sky Wilson, meanwhile, starts way wide. Gets 3 pins in her first ball here in the Baker.
Jaden, one of those bowlers who started off the match on varsity, then went down to JV. But speed, very important. Watch her speed. That's how she controls the ball there. As Hannah Johnson rolling right into the pocket there on that ball.
Beautiful strike for Hannah Johnson, putting Wenatchee out in front here early in this first Baker. But a nice pickup for Sky Wilson. And a lot of pins from which to choose. Knocked them all down. Jessica Holbrook, meanwhile, will wrap up the first go-around of the Baker for Wenatchee. And how about that? Panthers, 3 strikes in a row.
Stringing them together, that is tough to come back to. Anytime you give a team getting 3 strikes in a Baker game, that's a lot of pins to make up. Anytime you see that across the board there, the only hope you can have is you have a good second half of your Baker game going against that.
Wenatchee won the second game here today, by the way, 849 to 782. And Kyla Hankins will start things off 7 in the 6th frame for Wenatchee. Meanwhile, Eastmont's Samantha Hines picks up her spare. Alicia Hastings will wrap up the first go-around for Eastmont. Stepping up. Kyla's going to try to work on the spare here for Wenatchee. She 8 and spare in her first frame. This will be her final ball in this Baker. Starts it out wide and going to go around the horn and miss everything. So open for Wenatchee. Alicia Hastings, meanwhile, trying to bounce back from a rough go in the second game for her personally. And 9 in her first ball.
That's a great ball today. Just couldn't get the carry that she wanted to. It's had a couple solid pocket splits that were not like they should have been there.
Ooh, and a split here for Emily Groth.
So after those 3 strikes in a row there, Wenatchee kind of opening up a little bit here, giving Eastmont a chance to get back in the match. As Eastmont just doing what they can to fill the frames, as we say. You know, that's what you can do is always push to fill the frames as much as you can with spares. You know, you can't always get strikes, but, you know, spares are something you can control a bit more of.
And just a single pin there for Emily in her second ball. Meanwhile, Daylin Thomas trying to pick things up here for Eastmont. 9 in her first ball in the 6th frame. Wenatchee already to the 8th frame in this Baker as Jaden Thompson steps up.
Speed, a bigger thing there. A little faster on that ball, but it worked out for her. Tighter line.
Daylin Thomas will pick up her spare. So we saw the 3 strikes in a row by the 3rd, 4th, and 5th bowlers for Wenatchee first time through. Second time through, Jaden starts it off with a strike. We'll see if Hannah Johnson can follow. But first, it's going to be Megan Lindell over in lane 8 for Eastmont. And 2 times in a row, her first ball hugging the alley over there.
Hannah Johnson right back in there. Ooh, solid ball there. And that time you saw it, if you watched the ball, is just hit it right to the left there. I mean, the head pin rolled right in front of that 7 pin, just a little off on the carry. Tough luck on that one.
Megan Lindell gets just a couple of pins on her second ball, so open for Eastmont in the 7th. Hannah Johnson, meanwhile, trying to pick up her spare here in the 9th for Wenatchee. And that is, I thought maybe that was going to hang out there. But a nice pickup for Hannah and for her team. Sky Wilson with good pin action, but 9 pins, that 10 pin hanging out there for Sky. So Work to do for the Eastmont Wildcats, trailing here in the first of 2 Bakers after falling in the first 2 games to Wenatchee. Panthers trying to keep pace with Eisenhower in the Big 9 standings, and a nice pickup for Sky Wilson. Jessica Holbrook looks like she's going to wait until Eastmont also gets up with their 10th frame bowler. Samantha Hines here in the 9th for the Wildcats, going Brooklyn, 9 for her. When the 2 teams met the day before Thanksgiving in November, it was Wenatchee winning 3 out of 4, winning both the games, and they split the Bakers. And Samantha Hines cannot pick up that 10 pin. And so now we go to the 10th frame as Jessica Holbrook, who was taking a breather there, will step up and roll her first ball in the 10th after striking back in the 5th. Consistency. Can't quite get that pin to carry over and knock the 7 down, so she'll have 1 more to work with. Meanwhile, Alicia Hastings going Brooklyn with a strike.
Good ball there for Alicia Hastings, a little on the Brooklyn side there. The other thing we talk about, though, is Eastmont. You know, they've had a good run these last couple of years, and like you said, Jeff Levitt hadn't had a win there, but you know, with this team and these girls, they've had their struggles against Eastmont, and this is finally, for them, this is also a confidence booster for them. They've gotten over that big hump that's been kind of in their way for the last couple of years, and now they're kind of in control right now of their own destiny.
Alicia Hastings, 7 on her second ball here in the 10th. Meanwhile, Jessica, 1 more ball to go in the 10th of this first of the 2 Bakers. Look at that. So Wenatchee with a 172 in the first Baker. And 2 pins for Alicia Hastings, so a 141 for Eastmont. And we'll see if they stick with the same lineup here for the second Baker, or they shake things up a little bit, as Wenatchee has expanded the lead here to 205 pins. So sitting pretty on the day. Wenatchee will win this match, as they now are up 2 games plus a Baker to none for Eastmont. We will take a quick timeout, come back with a second Baker coming up next on the NCWLIFE channel. Stay right there.
Hey everyone, so today I'm tackling Medical Assistant Ninja, trying to get that next level career. Man, this dead-end job is holding me back. Decision time, I'm going Charter College. Now I'm a medical assistant student. Rocking it? Yeah, earned the President's Award. Score! Took my career to the next level. Hey, I can level up to Medical Assistant Ninja, so can you. Get on it.
Hi, I'm Kevin Prosser, and this is my print shop, Color Effects in Cashmere. Color Effects offers screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing on t-shirts, jerseys, bags, banners, signs, and more. With 30 years experience, you won't be disappointed with the quality and quick turnaround times you will get at more than a fair price. Please call Color FX.
Welcome back once again here to Eastmont Lanes. We get ready for the second Baker. A little change in the lineups here for both teams. For the Wenatchee Panthers, it will be Kyla Hankins, Holly Shipley, Jaden Thompson, Hannah Johnson, and Jessica Holbrook. Meanwhile, for Eastmont, it'll be Dalen Thomas, Olivia Ellington, Sky Wilson, Samantha Heinz, and Alicia Hastings, as Wenatchee will win this match and improve to 8-1 on the season, keeping pace with the Eisenhower Cadets.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup between those two. You know, it's amazing how close they are coming down to the end of the season here. But, you know, this is a good time for Christy to get a couple of her younger bowlers a chance to get that experience on the varsity side. The future of her sport for sure. She's got some great young talent coming up through the ranks. Just using this time right now to maybe work on giving them some time on the varsity side so they can kind of experience that pressure.
A few conversations being held here between the players and their coaches before we begin this final Baker here this afternoon on the NCWLIFE channel. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll have Davis and Eastmont basketball later on today here on the NCWLIFE channel. That'll be at 5:30. I'll head over to Eastmont High School for that contest with the girls starting at 5:45. The boys following at about 7:30. And then coming up tomorrow, it's Cashmere and Eastmont boys basketball at 2. That'll be followed at 7 o'clock by Davis and Wenatchee wrestling right here on your home for local sports, the NCWLIFE channel. Well, Daylin Thomas starts things off right in the last Baker, last match of the game here for these two schools. Kyla Hankins, meanwhile, with 9 pins. And again, confidence builder. Jeremy, you talked about that. If Eastmont can get a victory here in this Baker, they'll go away with a little bit better feeling and a little better taste in their mouth.
Yeah, definitely. For them, they like to enjoy to not get swept. I mean, there's nothing worse than leaving the match knowing you lost all the games. But knowing that you picked up at least one win is a big thing for them.
So Kyla Hankins picks up her spare. Meanwhile, Olivia Ellington stepping up from the JV squad. And how about that for a start, as she has a broad smile across her face following a strike for Eastmont. Holly Shipley now for the Wenatchee Panthers gets a strike as well. So nice step up for both to come up to the varsity floor and say, yeah, I can do this. Jaden Thompson will be next for Wenatchee. Meanwhile, Sky Wilson will roll here for Eastmont. A little high on the head pin, but got some help there. And a strike, and how about 3 strikes in a row for Eastmont High School? And a strike for Jaden Thompson.
Well, neither school is going out easy on this one, as we're going to have an old shootout here now. Anytime you have both teams starting off this hot is pretty big. Samantha Hines comes in there.
8 for Samantha here in the 4th frame of this Baker. Hannah Johnson, meanwhile, due up next here for Wenatchee.
And Hannah rolls it right in there.
Ooh, split for Hannah.
That one, though, looked like her ball speed a little slow that time. Rolled in a little early there. And tough break for Samantha Hines. She chops that split, or that spare. Chopping the 10 pin away from the 6.
So Hannah Johnson with some work to do for the Wenatchee Panthers. And Jeremy, when you get to this Baker and you know the match is already decided, you know who's going to win, does that kind of breathe a little easier?
I think Wenatchee breathes a little easier, but I feel like, in something like this, you definitely feel the pressure, Eastmont, that you don't want to get swept.
Oh, sure.
There is one thing about getting swept and then just, losing a match. It's been a tough day for Eastmont, for sure. And so I think, if they could walk away with claiming a small portion of victory here would be nice for them. But right now, Wenatchee's not letting it go easy.
Jessica Holbrook with a strike in the 5th. Here's Alicia Hastings trying to pick up her spare in the 5th. She does. And so halfway through, it is 96-85. Of course, Wenatchee working on a strike in the 5th as we head to the 6th.
Solid 10 pin there.
Kyla Hankins with that left over. Meanwhile, Daylin Thomas going Brooklyn. 9.
So close match right now. Just separated by about 10 pins halfway through this.
Oh, that's going to go a little wide. It will leave it open here for Kyla Hankins.
So open the door for Eastmont if Daylin can take advantage of this here and move up a mark on them as she rolls that plastic ball right in there. You see it just sit there, not move at all. Right down the line to chop up that 6 pin. Olivia Ellington going to kind of come in here and just say, you know what? Put me on varsity for 2 balls. I'm good to go there. As
nice
Holly
ball.
Shipley tried to do the same thing. So they've both been waiting to shine all day long here. Both of them doing pretty well. Both of them got a strike their first time out there. And both of them now setting themselves up for spares. Exactly what they were brought in for. And great experience for both of them.
Little miss release there for Holly. So she'll be open in the 7th. Meanwhile, here comes Olivia Ellington. Ooh, open as well here in the 7th.
Tough break there.
132 to 112. Wenatchee in front as we head to the 8th frame of this Baker.
Eastmont in front.
Okay. Well, they've got they didn't change the team names up there on the scoreboard, so a little confusion for me. And a strike for Sky Wilson.
So Eastmont trying to finish strong here, trying to, like we said, walk away with one victory. One small victory, that's a lot off of this here, as they have the rest of the week off here, kind of reflect on their struggles and maybe practice a few things, get ready to finish off the season before districts. Sam Hines right there.
How about that? Setting up Eastmont nicely for the 10th. Hannah Johnson, meanwhile, for the Wenatchee Panthers.
Great day for her, too.
Yeah.
With a lot of maybe you'd say distractions and other stuff. Everybody coming out here, and she's bowled well. I mean, one of the highest individual scores between the two team games there. Great games there. Been great in Bakers, and great to see her shine today.
Absolutely. And she and the family have a long road to hoe here starting tomorrow at Children's Hospital with the first of many appointments. As you see the ladies with all the same color ribbons in their hair to support Hannah Johnson and her fight as she knocks down that 10-pin. And she will continue to fight against that thyroid cancer just like she fights out here at the alley. And she's got the support of the entire community.
Alicia Hastings rolling in there for her ball, and wow.
Dude.
How about that? Eastmont didn't go down easy. They fought back. They want to get that one victory. Bowling pretty well, too. Some of them throwing their best balls they've thrown all day long.
And counterpoint.
Jessica Holbrook right back there.
Holbrook.
Maybe some of these girls are saving some of their stuff from they've had all day long.
I think so. Going to come down to these final 2 balls here. Eastmont 192, Wenatchee 161. And you can talk about this as a coach, former coach, Jeremy. I mean, you roll a 200 as a team in a Baker. That's some pretty good rolling right there.
That's anytime you're above 180 rolling in Baker is a great Baker game. We during our best time, we had a great run a couple years ago at the state tournament where we averaged 190 for our Bakers. And when you're doing that, it's just unstoppable.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're going to look through in Baker's about a 160, 170 average, but anytime you can shoot above a 200, you're feeling really good in a Baker there. And so it was a great finish for, even after everything that happened today, that is a great finish by Eastmont. It kind of maybe boosts them up a little bit after having a tough day and some tough losses there. But Wenatchee, I mean, they've been strong today. They're showing you right now why they're in contention for the league title, and going to make it very interesting coming into the month here for the district title, whether that be here in Wenatchee or whether that be in Yakima. Anything can happen.
Well, it is a win for Eastmont here in the final Baker. 221 to 171 is the final. We will take a break and come back and wrap it up and talk to some of the combatants here today. And Eastmont Lanes, where the Wenatchee Panthers knock off the Eastmont Wildcats 3-1, the official final score here today. We'll come back with more next from Eastmont Lanes on the NCWLIFE channel.
When you call Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, you get 35 years of experience and customer service in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's friendly staff strongly believe in repairing before replacing and service all major brands of HVAC units. Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning is your local, independent, trained comfort specialists, proudly serving all of North Central Washington. Call 884-6444 today.
Thanks for watching sports on the NCWLIFE channel, brought to you by One Way Construction, premier custom home builders and construction company for North Central Washington, including general contracting, framing, concrete, and consulting services. OneWayConstructionNW.com. The Fireplace Guys, Central Washington's most trusted names in fireplace and barbecue sales, installation, and service, located at 1205 Walnut Street, Wenatchee. TheFireplaceGuy.net. And Beneficial In-Home Care, your compassionate in-home care provider. All the benefits of assisted living while remaining within the comfort of your own home. Welcome back once again here to Eastmont Lanes as our postgame show continues on the NCWLIFE channel, where the Wenatchee Panthers take care of the Eastmont Wildcats 3-1, winning both the games, and one of the two Bakers here. Final pin total 2,126 for Wenatchee and 1971 for Eastmont, as Wenatchee maintains their pace with Eisenhower, now joined by a couple of big rollers here, Jessica Holbrook as well as Kyla Hankin, excuse me. Let's first of all talk about this match here today, and you guys rolling against Eastmont. It always seems to be tough and tight, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I don't know.
What did you guys talk about before this match? And I know everything going on with Hannah. I mean, that's got to be weighing on your guys' minds too.
We talked about how we were just going to come together and not worry about everything that's on the outside besides going against Eastmont and trying to win.
From your perspective, I mean, I know you guys want to get this win. You got the win here today. Is that a sigh of relief or what is it?
It's just like joy. It's really grateful, and it's amazing for us to win it again.
Now, we didn't talk much about what's going on with Hannah for obvious reasons. I mean, she's got her hands full with that. But, I mean, you guys got the bling on, you got the ribbons on, not just Wenatchee, but Eastmont too. What does that mean for you guys?
It brings us together in the community and all the parents and coaches and everything, and just to be together and show that we can cooperate.
So Eisenhower, okay, that's next on the docket. I mean, you guys have a chance to host the district tournament. I know that's big for you guys, right?
Yeah, it is.
So what do you need to do in order to accomplish that?
We just need to, just focus really hard and try our best and keep it all together and not get too in our heads about it.
So we show up here with TV cameras and there's a whole bunch of people here. Does that make you guys nervous at all?
No. Well, it doesn't make me that nervous, I guess. It used to when, my sophomore year I came. It really was. But now I just kind of got used to it.
Yeah. So, ladies, best of luck rest of the way. And here's hoping we're back here in a few weeks to host the district tournament, all right? All right, there you go. We'll come back with more on the postgame show and talk to one of the Eastmont bowlers who fared very well today, even though her team came up a little bit short, as the Wenatchee Panthers win over Eisenhower, or over Eastmont, I should say, 3-1. We'll continue with more here at Eastmont Lanes, and I'll try to find my brain in the meantime on the NCWLIFE channel.
Hi, my car's making a funny noise.
Not a problem. We'll take care of you.
Global Car Care's technicians are ASE Master Techs and well versed in the more refined methods of vehicular diagnostics.
Number 3 piston and rings have a slight loss of compression, down to 108 pounds. Your transmission is slipping. You're gonna need a service.
Looks like you all set.
These guys? They're good.
Oh, and your spare is flat.
Global Car Care, Wenatchee's top shop.
Walkabout Grill, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner in downtown Wenatchee and now downtown Leavenworth, where eating out is eating healthy.
post-game show continues here on the NCW Life channel, now joined by Sky Wilson for the Eastmont Lady Cats. Well, Sky, you guys didn't get, I know, what you'd hoped here today, but winning that final Baker, does that help you with your confidence as you go forward?
It does. It was a good game. We haven't bowled like a Baker game over 200 in a while, and so it felt like really good, and then we all like came together as a team, and we just like pepped ourselves up, and we just did what we had to do.
With Jeremy Anders doing the broadcast here today, we noticed that you were changing balls on different lanes and things like that. Was it a matter of the lane? Was it a matter of you, or what was it today for you?
It was like the lane. Like sometimes like the lanes can be too different. Like one could hook more than the other one, and just 7 just hooked more than 8 did, and I hooked enough that I had to change balls.
So, Christy Bingy, what does she tell you guys, you know, as far as this season, it's kind of not what Eastmont is come to know from all the success you've had, but you still got to plug away. What does your coach tell you?
She tells us that we can't have success without failure, so we just need to piece ourselves back up together, and we need to do what we need to do to get to districts, and that's our next step, and we're taking it match by match.
Well, 182 and a 161 for you today. Are you happy with how you rolled today?
I wasn't very happy with my first game, but I went back and like thought about what I needed to do, and I changed balls, and then it worked out.
Well, congratulations on your individual games today. I know that big Baker win in the second Baker was a lot for you guys, and here's best of luck down the road.
Thank you.
You bet. Sky Wilson joining us here on the post-game show. We'll come back and talk with Jeff Levitt of the Wenatchee Panthers next on the NCW Life channel.
Choose the pros, Alignment Pros. When your vehicle needs brakes, shocks, struts, or alignment, choose the experts in their field. Alignment Pros and Express Lube with a 5-star rating. The work they perform on your vehicle is as impeccable as their shop. With state-of-the-art equipment, Alignment Pros can handle all large or small vehicles, specialty cars, lifted or lowered. Alignment Pros does them all. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
What's your auto mocha emergency?
It's a Frapita mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor.
Peanut butter chocolate for pita?
Definitely espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha Frapitas.
A peach Red Bull.
Welcome back once again to Eastmont Lanes. Now talking with Jeff Levitt, the head coach for the Wenatchee Panthers. Victorious here today.
Yes.
You maintain the pace with Eisenhower. Talk about this with everything going into this match here today.
Well, a lot of mixed emotions, as you can imagine. As a team, we really tried to kind of help each other deal with kind of the emotion that's going on. Our love goes out to the Johnson family and Hannah in particular. And knowing Hannah, and I could say this about any one of the girls on my team, they would not want it to be about them. And Hannah expressly said that. And so I thought that the pregame show of solidarity between the programs and the coaches about the fight against cancer, because everybody's been affected by this disease, was really very nice. And Christy did a great job of putting that out there. And I said, look, girls, once we start rolling, it's time to beat the Wildcats. And that's exactly what Hannah wanted, and that's exactly what our team wanted. Any girl on our team would say the same thing. And so I'm very proud of my parents coming together, Eastmont parents coming together and showing solidarity to beat this disease with anybody that's got it. In this case, this happens to be Hannah, and we just want to come around the Johnsons. But yeah, this victory means a lot. Keeping pace with the cadets, they're a very good team. We just got to take care of business now so that we can host the district tournament. That's our next goal.
Well, and that's something that Jeremy and I were talking about, that it's kind of an interesting situation Eastmont finds themselves in, because they're hoping that you win the district tournament now too, because that means they could be here for the district playoff.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, knowing them, knowing Christy, how competitive she is, she's like, we're going to beat the Panthers. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so there was no quit in them. I mean, you could see that from the get-go. So yeah, it was up to our girls to really, finish it off, and they did. And in those Bakers, our goal is to roll at least a 170. We did that today. Eastmont drops a 221, which they're totally capable of doing at any given time. So there again, they finished really strong. So we still got to watch out for them. You had 2 teams go to the state tournament out of the district. It very easily could be Wenatchee and Eastmont. They're that tough.
Well, meanwhile, both teams got a chance, you included, to roll some younger bowlers here today and give them that experience, because you never know when you need somebody to step up.
Yeah, exactly. And we know we're going to need someone to step up, with Hannah most likely being out. We don't know the future. We don't know how much is going to go on. We'll find out more tomorrow. But she was in there the whole time. I wanted to make sure she was in there the whole time. But it was nice to get Maddie Monroe in there and Kayla Musgrove and Holly Shipley in there, get some time in there so that they're involved in kind of the pressure situation, so they know what's expected of them.
Well, congratulations on the win today. Best of luck for the rest of the road.
All right, thank you very much, Eric.
Jeff Levitt joining us here on the postgame show. We'll get Jeremy Anders back in here for his final thoughts, and we'll wrap it up on the way next on the NCWLIFE channel.
Where will you be a year from now? You could be working as a medical assistant. The Charter College Medical Assistant Certificate Program gets you work ready in 10 months. Add 5 more months to earn an associate degree. We prepare you with hands-on training and support you after graduation with job search help and interview skills. Institutionally accredited by the Accrediting Bureau of Health Education Schools, Charter has been training healthcare professionals for more than 30 years. Charter College. We work to get you to work.
One more time around here at Eastmont Lanes, where the Wenatchee Panthers knock off the Eastmont Wildcats. 3-1 today, the official final. 2,126 pins to 1971. And Jeremy, we talked about how intense this is, the added emotion, of course, with the Hannah Johnson situation. But Wenatchee came out, rolled over a 900 in that first game, and really set the tone today.
Yeah, Wenatchee, they bowled well today. They had their game on the whole entire time. Eastmont had its struggles. The pins just didn't fall their way. A lot of open frames there that really cost them the pins there. Wenatchee, though, I mean, they were right on it. Kyla Hankins, she really led the way there early on, and Jessica Holbrook and Hannah Johnson as well. Those 3 really carried the team all the way through this match. When Eastmont, though, they showed some life there at the end, though. They had struggles early on, but they showed, though, at the end of the match, though, that they're right there to hang with them. And come districts time, you know, it's a whole different ball game. There's 3 regular games and there's 7 Baker games. You can put 6 Baker games together like that there. It's really going to help you out. And the biggest thing this year is 2 teams go to state. So Eastmont really would love to have districts here. Wenatchee maybe makes it in there. Eastmont makes it in. Maybe go for an all Wenatchee Valley sweep.
Well, we appreciate you being here and providing the expertise. I think both Dan and I, hopefully the television audience at home, learned a lot more about bowling today.
I'm glad to be here. You know, it's kind of different. You know, for all these years I was down below and you guys are calling your stuff back up top. And it was great to be back here behind it. High school bowling is such a great atmosphere. If you ever have a chance to, you got to come down here and watch a match. It's so much fun. Different than any other sport usually watching a match. You're so close to the action, so much interaction. And, you know, it shows why, though, today you saw why the last, 4 or 5 years this has been such a great sport for the Wenatchee Valley.
I think that's why Jeremy jumped on the broadcast today, because he spent all that time listening to us behind him going, those guys don't know what they're talking about. Jeremy, thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Jeremy Anders joining us here. Dan Kuntz, our line producer, and camera 1 and camera 2 today. Thank you to Dan for that, and Uriah Darby for also helping us get things set up here as the Wenatchee Panthers knock off the Eastmont Wildcats and maintain that pace for first in the Big 9. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks for watching High School Sports on the NCWLIFE channel. Tonight's broadcast was brought to you by Alignment Pros, Automoca, Color FX, Global Car Care, One Way Construction, Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, Biosports Physical Therapy, and the Windmill Restaurant. This concludes today's coverage of high school sports on your home for local sports, the NCWLIFE channel.